Chapter 142. As soon as I regained consciousness, I felt the fluid surrounding my body. It was a sensation similar to amniotic fluid, both watery and warm. I tried to move my arms, but it seemed like I was paralyzed. Not a muscle twitched. My entire body felt dull, as if I had been heavily medicated, perhaps like taking a massive dose of painkillers. It seems the transformation isn't complete yet. I quickly assessed and understood the situation. Although I couldn't see due to the inability to move my eyelids, my body was still in a state of gradual transformation within the pod, undergoing various chemical processes. About an hour or two left, roughly, I estimated. Normally, I would take this time to rest, but something felt off. There was a sense of urgency, as if I had witnessed something important before my memories became hazy. It was definitely something important. I tried to recall, but my efforts were in vain. Frustration built up as the memory refused to resurface. Let it go. I decided to cut off my attempts forcibly. Let's see what the others are up to. To alleviate the frustration accumulating in my mind, I directed my attention to those on the surface. Focusing my auxiliary sensors to detect events outside the pod, I realized that my ability to sense activities on the surface was limited during the evolutionary process. And on the surface, there was no one. All I could sense was the sturdy exoskeleton of the Swamp King. Where did everyone go? I questioned. The most vulnerable moments for me were during evolution and when utilizing the transcendence system. So, before entering the second stage of transcendence, I had asked the others to watch over me. Strange as it may sound to say this with my own mouth, my relationship with them wasn't bad. Number 26, with whom I had spent the longest time, was reliable, and Atal admired me. I, too, tried to avoid things they disliked as much as possible. If they had specific preferences, I wanted to fulfill them to the best of my ability. The Mother of the Sky was a bit ambiguous, but as she had her goals, the likelihood of betrayal was low. If she intended to betray me, she would have done so as soon as I entered the pod. The possibility of them leaving without any reason was unlikely. In this case, there was only one explanation. There must be some danger around. It was evident that they had left to eliminate threats that could harm me. As I pondered what could pose a danger to me in this location, the first thought that came to mind was the Hond-Gigrant couples. Although their habitat was quite distant from here, ever since they devoured the pirates last time, they had been venturing into the forest. Perhaps they developed a taste for human and cultist flesh, considering it a delicacy. They intentionally made a nest in a safe place, so it's probably not them. Other potential threats, like the rescue team from the Abyssal Research Base, were also unlikely. My nest was far from the base, making it improbable for them to reach me. Or could it be Muriel's colleagues? I had heard rumors when interrogating Muriel that there were players supporting her. She had sent out rescue requests that were ignored before her demise. I've erased traces as much as possible. The fact that they were cautious about me could be easily deduced from the detailed conversation Muriel had shared. Still, just to be sure, I tidied up the traces I had left as much as possible before leaving the campsite. Artificial structures and weapons were either incinerated or buried underground before leaving the camp. There might be traces of the cruiser that was hit and exploded, but with that alone, finding my nest would be nearly impossible. My nest is underground. On the off chance that players discovered my nest using technology I wasn't aware of, even that was hard to comprehend. If they really had found the nest, I would have been dead already. If there were two players of Muriel's caliber or higher, they could easily handle number 26, Atal, and the Mother of the Sky. It had been more than 5 hours since I entered the pod, so there was time even after the situation concluded. Therefore, the fact that I was still alive meant that the players didn't directly come. It had to be an adversary at a level where they could engage with the kids. In the end, back to square one. It seemed that I would have to check things out as soon as the transformation was complete. The Mother of the Sky is a ranker. She might not have an outgoing personality, but she had experience running a large clan and leading raids for boss-level creature hunts. She led the subjugation of a pseudo-boss creature, Sea Demon, participated in the Vortex Zone expedition, and more. Despite boasting about having experienced all sorts of battles, what she was witnessing now was very surreal. Ah! Everyone, run! A sea demon, grown over 10 meters, was indiscriminately massacring cult warriors in the middle of the forest. Every swing of its thicker-than-logs tentacle erased the upper halves of cult warriors, and whenever I shaped patterns on its body glowed, cultists bled profusely from their eyes and ears. Their leader died on the spot when encountering the sea demon, struck by its tentacle. Twisted like a caught butterfly on a net, she perished. Deploy shields. Deploy shields. A female cult member shouted, managing to evade the tentacle. As she, the second highest warrior after the leader, urgently deployed the shield, others followed suit. However, shields were meaningless against a sea demon adept at manipulating psychic power as much as Galagon. W. We're going to D. D. One warrior who boldly jumped out while covered by a shield, abruptly stopped midair. Then, his arms, legs, and waist began to move against his owner's will. Hooah! Is this how it feels to watch someone pull off an ant's leg? The warrior, bound by the sea demon's restraint with 5 layers stacked, soon saw not only his limbs but also his upper and lower body separate. Useless. Uaa. Meanwhile, another warrior hit by the sea demon's thick tentacle was sent flying and impaled on a tree. With his neck twisted in a strange direction, he blinked a few times before ceasing all movement. To anyone, it was clearly a horrific scene of slaughter. Yet, what made the Mother of the Sky seem surreal was the shockwaves emitted by number 26 whenever it attacked the cultists. Bad humans. Bad humans. Ah! Who dares to hit the middle child? Geek. With every scream, number 26 repeated the phrase bad humans, mercilessly slaughtering the cultists. This was because it couldn't distinguish between cultists and humans. Damn it. Block those tentacles. In response to the female cultist's command, 2 cultists with harpoon-like weapons stepped forward. Oh no. Seeing this, the Mother of the Sky quickly descended from the tree. The net shot by the harpoon-like gun had a tightening effect the moment it hit the prey. It alone couldn't penetrate the sea demon's tough exterior, but the cult's net was made of black silver. If it's black silver, number 26 might get hurt. If number 26 suffered even a little, the currently dormant monster would surely not be pleased. However, what she feared didn't happen. The moment the net touched him, number 26's body shrank suddenly, transforming into a small balloon-like shape. The reduced creature effortlessly avoided the net and grew back, swinging its tentacles. Again. One cultist who shot the net barely dodged it, but another one was hit by the tentacle, and his upper body flew away. The surviving cultist wore a relieved expression, but he wasn't out of the woods yet. Rocks and metal shards on the ground trembled before swiftly flying into his face. He, too, ended up following the same path as his comrades, his face riddled with holes. That's ruthless. Despite its childlike tone, number 26 fought exceptionally well, reminiscent of a sea demon. It actively applied its own techniques. I probably don't need to stay here any longer. The Mother of the Sky turned away from the scene of number 26 decimating the cultists and left. Her destination was where Atal was fighting. Currently, Atal was massacring cultists from another team. As the only one among Amorph's colleagues capable of high-altitude flight, Atal actively utilized his psychic powers to capture cultists and drop them to their deaths. There is a flying technique among the psychic power skills. Dodging Atal's attacks, faster than bullets, was impossible. Colliding with his charge would likely lead to a one-way trip to the afterlife. Moreover, all the cultists who entered this forest are currently not in their right minds, thanks to number 26's abyssal terror. It's more adaptable than the sea demon in the game. In the setting, the abyssal terror is a phenomenon that occurs as a powerful psychic power energy emitted by the sea demon spreads out. Therefore, as creatures approach it, their minds are adversely affected, leading to mental collapse. However, number 26 implemented the abyssal terror by spreading the psychic power like spider silk, thin and wide. Most enemies had relatively intact minds, but, in return, they lost the ability to use their communication devices and some psychic power skills, creating an environment where they couldn't communicate and dismantle each other. That was what number 26 intended. Of course, as it hadn't fully matured yet, the effect wasn't perfect. Since it started fighting on its own, the abyssal terror effect it used seemed to sway unpredictably. Without luck, some individuals might break free from control. Still, the tactic itself was effective enough that the Mother of the Sky had to acknowledge it. I wonder if a morph needs a new friend. If number 26 becomes an adult, it would turn into a tremendous monster. In a way, it might be fortunate. Whether to find solace in the thought that the formidable monster is an ally or to worry is a dilemma. While contemplating this, she heard a sound from above her head. It was a scream. The Mother of the Sky immediately stopped running. A few seconds later, a cult warrior pierced through the branches and fell to the ground, completely shattered. A graceful green dragon landed on unrecognizable flesh fragments. With a slender body over 2 meters long, gigantic wings extending beyond its torso, 4 horns and a chubby tail, the impressive dragon was Atal. Atal, who had eliminated one cultist, was holding another cultist with her forelimb. Whether it was a result of using acceleration or not, the captured cultist, despite wearing reinforced armor, had been crushed in half. Here. Clean. Done. Fast. Me. Impressive. Indeed. Well done. One team had already been cleared, and the other team would be cleaned up soon. The cult warriors she sensed were in 3 teams, and now only one team remained. Enemy. Remaining. Hunt. Start. Wait a moment. Like this. Although the remaining team intended to clean up together, Atal flew away first. She shook her head, seemingly resigned, and chased after Atal. Hook hook hook. Cult warrior Olai caught his breath behind a tree, hidden from view. Darn it. The war chief, Edrin, and even Isabel. All of them are gone. Except for him, the warrior squad that came to this planet had been completely wiped out. The fact that he could know this even without communication was thanks to the tools he possessed. Unlike other cultists, Olai, a so-called innovative cultist, freely used primitive race equipment without hesitation. Before the mission began, he distributed small chips to other squad members. They were military tracking chips mainly used by Megacorp. It might be challenging to use for long-distance missions, but for activities around a specific area on one continent, it could detect without any problem. In addition, the reinforced armor he was wearing was not the standard cultist armor. It was a specially customized reinforced suit acquired from the Garamelda family of Megacorp. This particular suit had a relatively lower level of bodily protection but had a powerful stealth effect, making it perfect for infiltration missions. Moreover, Olai had mastered the psychic power technique to erase the body's presence, making him literally like a ghost. Darn it. Even though we could share such good things, why don't they listen? He was usually scorned for liking the monkeys' toys, but it was thanks to the equipment made by those monkeys that he could survive. If I can just reach the transport ship, I can survive. So far, he had seen 3 monsters, but he had no idea how many more dangerous ones might be out there. They were likely variations caused by contamination. The purification process needed to be expedited as much as possible. After confirming there were no monsters nearby, Olai moved again. Once I passed this place. Beyond that thicket was the transport ship. While moving as quietly as possible, he suddenly crouched down. A black shadow flickered on the ground and disappeared. His comrade Edrin proved what that meant. Why is a Galagon here? Thinking of a colleague who had been caught by the green Galagon, taken up several kilometers, and then dropped, Olai moved cautiously. And finally, when he passed through the thicket, the transport ship he had hoped for was in front of him. However, the condition of the transport ship was very different from what he expected. Creer. Crick. 2 large marine creatures with giant horns on their heads were smashing the transport ship, chewing up the pilot inside. In the cult's language, they were called Monic Arma, but in Megacorp, they were referred to as Hond Gigrants, predators that migrated from the volcanic zone to the inside of this forest. Kroik, Kung, Kung Kung. Creer. One of the Monic Arma sniffed something and its nose pointed directly at Ole's position. His sense of smell was extremely sensitive. It wouldn't miss the scent of his sweat, soaked thoroughly. Ole silently stepped back. After entering the bushes, he ran away at full speed. Although the roars from behind were heard, he ignored them and ran as if possessed. Zhang. Unfortunately, his escape didn't last long. The green Galagon flying overhead didn't miss him and swooped down. Ole, who had used every means to survive, couldn't do anything about his luck. Colliding with a creature over 2 meters in size flying at supersonic speed, he turned into a bug squashed in the palm of a hand. Hide and seek. End. Watching the fragments of what was just an enemy, she nodded satisfactorily. Recently, she felt that her relationship with the grown-ups had become less awkward than before. Since grown-ups do many things with small and ugly friends, she hadn't done much with the grown-ups. So, she thought, make a fantastic ball and get praise from the grown-ups. Today alone, she hunted more than 10 prey. With this level of skill, the grown-ups would undoubtedly pay attention to her. Licking the blood on her body, she tried to go back. Unless a new enemy attacked her, that would have been the case. Pain. Suddenly colliding with the monster that appeared, she tumbled on the muddy ground. Thanks to her preemptive reaction before the collision, she avoided fatal injuries, but one of her wings was torn apart. Me. Pain. Endure. Kill. Nevertheless, Atal did not lose its composure and stood upright on all 4 legs, glaring at the creature. The small adult and the ugly friend were still far behind. It was because she had rushed too far ahead due to the urgent wind in her heart. So, she had to endure until they arrived. 2. The despairing fact was that there was not just one creature. The one that had impaled her with its horn charged at her. Thanks to her torn wing, she barely managed to evade that attack. Unfortunately, avoiding the subsequent second attack and the creature's tail was impossible. Hit by the thick tail, she flew backward and collided with a tree. Pain. The impact caused the tentacles attached to her head to ooze blood. She tried to get up somehow, but her 4 legs trembled weakly, refusing to cooperate. Suddenly, the approaching creature opened its mouth wide. Sharp teeth protruded. In a moment, those teeth would tear apart her fragile body. Death. Dislike. It was too early to give up. With all her strength, she unleashed the purple lightning. The violet bolt pierced the creature's eye and blood splattered. Even though the creature would likely feel significant pain after being struck by lightning, it did not retreat. Instead, despite getting hit by the lightning, it tried to bite her with its mouth. Big adult. Sorry. In her final moments, she did her best, but it seemed like it was the end. Sensing death, she closed her eyes. However, vibrations were felt from somewhere. It didn't feel like teeth grinding into her. At first, the vibrations were faint, gradually growing stronger, until at some point, it felt like someone was grabbing and shaking her body vigorously. What is this? Crack. The earthquake was not something only she felt. The 2 creatures also showed signs of confusion due to the sudden tremors. And then, the ground exploded, and the creature that was about to bite her was catapulted into the air above the trees. This is insane. A roaring, gigantic monster shook the ground. It was the big adult she had been waiting for. Chapter 143. I thought it might be the case. When I was inside the cave, I worried about what could be happening outside. I wondered if there was a threat from the horrifying or players. So after completing my evolution, instead of going upward, I dug straight into the ground and moved. It was because moving on the surface could be dangerous if players were really coming. As I moved, I realized that the things I feared didn't happen. There were no traces of children among the scent of blood detected by the auxiliary device. Nevertheless, just to be sure, I continued following the scent without slowing down. Thanks to that, I'm not late. While moving, I sensed Atal's mental waves. His thoughts were mixed with pain. If I had relaxed and slowed down my pace, I might have missed Atal's mental waves. I immediately changed direction towards Atal. Thanks to that, I was able to rescue her at the last moment. The horrifying that saw me growled. The sound clearly contained hostility, but their bodies did not reflect that. Shaking legs and trembling eyes. One of the most powerful predators on this continent seemed to fear me. That's to be expected. I couldn't check the hastily arrived messages and the changed text boxes. However, I couldn't ignore the changes in my own body. Although I completed the Transcendence Stage 2, my body length did not undergo as radical growth as during evolution. It grew a bit more, from 27 meters to around 28 meters, but not doubling like before. However, there were significant changes in my physique. Firstly, my head became overall larger compared to before. It wasn't just the exoskeleton that grew, horns, jaws, and other parts increased, making the head occupy a higher proportion of the body. Especially the jaw transformed into a more formidable shape, reminiscent of when I am in the state of the symbol of hunt. I can use it much more actively in battles. With the enlarged jaw, I could chew on tougher enemies, and even against smaller foes, a simple strike with my head could deliver a significant blow. And the horns. The number of horns increased from 2 to 6. The 4 new horns, unlike the existing ones, lined up from the center of the head to the rear exoskeleton. It's a reinforcement of the horns. It was a welcome addition for me, as I often use tactics of piercing with horns when fighting powerful or large enemies. With the increased size, they will be much more lethal. As the head became larger and heavier, the neck also naturally changed. It became thicker and longer, and the tendrils that grew like a mane of a lion were wrapped around my neck. The next area that underwent significant changes was my arms. The small arms near the chest became much longer, and thin exoskeletons grew. The weakness in my body, which was the combat arms adorned with a symbol of hunting, was compensated with this evolution. The combat arms, my frequently used weapons, became thicker and longer, similar to the head's exoskeleton. It grew by about 2 meters with the same thick outer covering as the head. It significantly reduced the anxiety about the arms being cut off. These changes, along with my previous abilities, made me much more formidable in battles. The thought of facing any challenges with this evolved form filled me with confidence. It might actually be good to use as a weapon. I, who used the tough head exoskeleton as a kind of shield, could not only slash enemies with claws but also strike with my arms themselves. Thanks to these changes, all 3 pairs of combat arms could now function both as arms and simultaneously as legs, much like when I moved with 6 legs during my hatchling stage. The current posture I assumed was similar to the hatchling stage, supporting my body with 6 combat arms and a tail. The difference was that during the hatchling stage, I used to move with the tail raised like a scorpion, and now I dragged the massive lower body and tail on the ground. Of course, if needed, I could still move by raising only the upper body and dragging the lower body and tail on the ground. Finally, the tail. The pincers that should have been at the bottom pair of arms moved to the tail. The tail end, where the thorn firing mechanism was originally located, was now split into 2 branches. Large pincers, exceeding the height of an adult male, were taking the place. Until now, the tail didn't play a significant role when facing enemies immune to paralysis, or those with thick skin. It was used selectively when entwining and suppressing enemies or striking them with the tail. But now, the tail had acquired pincers, making it more versatile. However, the thorn firing mechanism hadn't disappeared. When the pincers opened, numerous thorns were densely embedded inside. These thorns could be fired at distant enemies or, when the pincers grabbed an enemy, released in a concentrated manner. An interesting change. Overall, weaknesses were offset, and my strengths were reinforced to match my fighting style. I wanted to check the text boxes and new messages immediately, but now was not the time. There was an enemy in front of me. Grew. A heavy roar emanated from my throat, matching the changed body. Even to me, it was imposing. What would it be like for the enemy? 2 Hond Gigrants trembled. Kr. They seemed hesitant about whether to attack me or not, growling at each other. Kr. And then, as if they had decided to attack me, they roared towards me. A large aquatic creature, 20 meters in length and 9 meters in height to the pelvis, rushed towards me. The creature pounded the ground as it ran, keeping its head and back straight. The posture, reminiscent of a bull during a charge, was the basic combat stance of the Hond Gigrants. Rushing and smashing the opponent with the 2 sturdy horns on its head. What's interesting is that I often used a similar tactic against them. I confronted them in the same way. 6 log-like arms were firmly planted in the ground, and the tail swept across the ground, creating a trench. As the 2 beasts charged at me, the earth trembled. At the moment they were about to collide with my head, I quickly lowered my body. Crack! The creature's horns grazed my rear head exoskeleton and back, sparking sharp flames. I thought they would collide directly, but the creature seemed confused. Its sturdy hind legs collided with my body, and its posture collapsed. Kruh! Still, in a predator-like manner, the creature tried to bite my back in that posture. To such a creature, my true attack was unleashed. It was my newly acquired pincer tail. My tail twists upward towards my upper back. The pincer at the end of my tail grabs the neck of the creature attempting to attack my back. The creature, unable to make a sound with its groin grabbed, hurriedly tried to pull its head out but was too late. The size of my pincers is slightly smaller than the Swamp King's, both in terms of defense and gripping strength, almost identical. He can't withstand pincers that can cut through battleship armor like butter. I exerted strength in the muscles at the end of my tail. The horned gigantra's neck snapped like a broken branch. The creature collapsed with its tongue hanging out, instantly dead. Kr. Kroa. Witnessing this, the remaining horned gigantra let out a roar resembling a scream. Its skin turned red, and its muscles swelled. Even though it goes into a frenzy, it won't defeat me, who has reached Transcendent Stage 2. However, there's an unconscious Atal in this place. I have to kill it before the frenzy is complete. This moment, when it briefly paused its movement due to the frenzy, was an opportunity. I threw the dead horned gigantra's body away and rushed towards the remaining one. Unlike before, this time, while running, I exerted force to my tail, lifting the upper body. In that state, I pounced on the creature. Kroa. During the frenzy, the creature managed to dodge my body press by moving backward. In that position, it attempted to bite into my rear head exoskeleton. Where? I exerted strength to the combat arm that touched the ground, bouncing my body to the side. The creature's large jaw made a threatening sound as it closed in the air. From there, I grabbed the creature's head with my combat arm. Though it attempted to open its mouth again, my arms prevented it from doing so. Taking advantage of a momentary exchange, the creature, now finishing its frenzy, swung its tail forcefully. The creature's tail, in a state of frenzy, was like a well-crafted sword, capable of cutting through even thick redwood. However, despite knowing this fact, I didn't dodge the creature's tail. Instead, I opened my mouth wide and bit into the incoming tail. The creature, which didn't suspect that its tail would be shattered by my teeth and jaw, was taken aback. Both my teeth and jaw were intact. It's too early to be surprised. It's too early to be surprised. I began to swallow the creature's tail in its bitten state inside my throat. With originally wide-open jaws, I could fit prey larger than my head. Now, the jaws themselves were reinforced, and the throat had changed to easily swallow even larger prey. I swallowed the creature's tail like a snake without chewing. The creature, realizing that it was entering my stomach while still alive, glowed, but it was futile. The creature tried to pierce me with its horns, but the horns, without gaining enough acceleration, were nothing more than slightly hardened bludgeons. It's insufficient to break through the armor and exoskeleton covering my body. My jaw and throat worked without a break. First, it was the tail, then the creature's pelvis and hind legs. The sounds of bones breaking and muscles tearing echoed, but the creature couldn't scream. My arms were holding its mouth shut. In the end, the creature, with its lower body completely twisted, vomited its internal organs from its mouth and died. Though it knew the creature had died, I didn't stop swallowing. When number 26 and the Mother of the Sky appeared from behind the bushes, I could already swallow all of the creature's horns. Big one. You're awake. ZZZ, yeah. Hey. Why is the little one still asleep? Number 26 expressed doubt as it looked at the unconscious Atal. Mother of the Sky, who was beside it, stared blankly at me, then looked surprised when she saw Atay's condition. Wait a moment. Passing by number 26, I approached Mother of the Sky and grabbed her with my combat arms. She avoided my arms, but the corrosion tendrils protruding from my back were unavoidable. The tendrils grabbed the forelegs and neck of the griffin. Anything else to say? The voices of survivors captured at the research base flowed out of my mouth. Thanks to the loosening of the suppression in the mimicry organ, I could now mimic human voices accurately. Saint. Stop. This is. Even though her throat was sleepy, Mother of the Sky tried to make excuses. Her actions felt more disappointing. I had asked her about them before going to sleep. I didn't completely trust her, but I didn't see any reason for her to betray me. Moreover, she seemed to get along well with Atal. I thought she was suitable for assisting the still inexperienced Atal. But I was wrong. If I had been even a little late, Atal would have died. She is the only gateway to Jelegan's tomb. If he dies, I will suffer tremendous losses. And, actually, it wasn't solely for that reason, but there was no need to mention it. Did she feel that I was going to kill her? Mother of the Sky tightly closed her eyes. I paid no attention and opened my mouth wide to swallow her. Big one? Wait. Please. Just as my jaws were about to close, Adhay's thoughts reached me. Big one? Friend. No mistake. Nothing wrong. ZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZ. But she failed. Denial. Denial. Me. Friend. Words. Ignore. Me. Mistake. Despite bleeding profusely, Adha did not stop the telepathy. A mistake. ZZZZZZZZZ. A mistake. Me. Ball. Many. Stand. Big one. Attention. Need. Hunt. Many. Success. Big one. Joy. Friend. Be careful. Advice. Me. Ignore. I pondered over the telepathy sent by Adha. Wanted to stand out with the ball? To sum it up, it seemed that Adha wanted to hunt several cultists in this forest to get my attention. Oh. Come to think of it. The time I spent with Adha recently had significantly decreased compared to before. Other than when we were together before going to save number 26, we were mostly apart. Being together with number 26, who excels even on her own, for a long time made me think that Adha wouldn't need much attention. I was wrong. I didn't know exactly how he perceived me, but at least he considered me as a being similar to the adult Jelegan. Feeling lonely when such a being roamed outside, it was probably what he thought. As I thought about it, the anger that had surged moments ago subsided. I closed my wide-open jaw and looked at Mother of the Sky quietly. In her regained sanity, seeing her eyes gave me a rough idea of what had happened. To gain my attention, Adha forcefully moved, and she probably was busy chasing after Adha. Griffins also had flying capabilities, but they weren't as fast as Adha. She did her best in her own way. I released the griffin I had held. She, whose throat was cleared, coughed awkwardly. Adha, who had tried to explain the situation to me, was again in a state of unconsciousness. I approached her and implanted symbiotic spores. I need to take her to the nest immediately. I could sense her injuries through auxiliary organs. Not only were her wings torn, but her ribs were also broken. If time passed, the injuries might worsen, so I needed to treat them quickly. Feeling the uneasy atmosphere, number 26 lifted Adha onto my back using its tentacles. After confirming that Adha was securely on board, it climbed onto my head. While carrying them towards the nest, Mother of the Sky followed behind. I should apologize to her. Just as I was about to say sorry to her, she called out to me first. Wait a moment. What is it? Now is not the time for this. There's something you need to check right away. What? The cultists we captured are affiliated with the Imperial fleet. Muriel's comrades sent the Imperial fleet here? Hearing those words, the tendrils hanging from my neck felt tense. Among the powerful weapons possessed by the cult, the Imperial fleet ranked high. Not only was its own armament top-notch, but the most potent weapon of the Imperial fleet was something else. The cosmic bolt embedded in the ship. One of the planet-cleansing weapons possessed by the cult. Guide me. Follow me. Sorry, Adha, but this is more urgent. If the Imperial fleet bombards this planet, we will all die. Even if I dig deep into the ground, it's impossible to escape the range of the cosmic bolt. At least I need to know when it will be fired. I quickly followed Mother of the Sky. Chapter 144. Captain, the cosmic bolt has been fully charged. Captain. Situation room of Damos 08, the Arbiter of the Cosmos. The crew had informed the captain that all preparations were complete, but the captain had not issued any orders. Because communication had been completely cut off from the warrior unit that had descended below. What's going on? Why aren't we getting any contact? Lice. Lice is the warrior he cherishes. The possibility of him ignoring the captain's orders for no reason is close to zero. Moreover, the other warrior units that went down with lice also have not been reached. That means something serious has happened down there. What should I do? He can choose one of two options. One is to fire the cosmic bolt as it is, and the other is to send down a new search party. However, the captain knows. Choosing the latter is practically impossible. In the cult empire, contamination issues are not an exaggeration when it comes to the most dangerous elements to the empire's security. Delaying time to rescue subordinates while performing purification duties to prevent contamination. Especially when the captain personally sent subordinates to rescue slaves. The ships here are not just Imperial motherships. The ships belonging to the mothership battle group dispatched to protect the mothership will not remain idle. If the captain delays, he will be dismissed, and another captain will lead the ship and fire the cosmic bolt. Captain, please give the order. Fire in 10 minutes. Understood. In the end, the path the captain chose was to fire the cosmic bolt. It's a short time, but within it, he hopes for the safe return of his subordinates. What happened? The Mother of the Sky asked me with a serious look in her eyes. The launch time has already passed. What? But why? I don't know. The Mother of the Sky deliberately left one cult's corpse for me, knowing that I am well aware of my supernatural abilities. Receiving the corpse from her, I used my abilities to read the memories of the cult who came here, Hammond. There were many gaps in the middle of the memories, but I could confirm only important facts. The planet was designated as a contaminated planet and received a purification order. And 5 minutes ago, it was the time for the cosmic bolt to be launched. That's the two things. Why it hasn't been launched yet, even Hammond and I don't know. It's fortunate that the launch has been delayed, but we still can't relax. Damn, it won't be long now. The Mother of the Sky frowned and clicked her tongue. As she said, it's true. The purification order of the cult is rarely cancelled. Even if the captain of the Imperial mothership loses interest and refuses the mission, a substitute will come forward to execute it. In a short time, within an hour at most, the cosmic bolt will fall onto this continent. It's too late to escape. The cosmic bolt is a condensed energy projectile created by mixing dark matter and psychic power. Its instantaneous firepower is almost comparable to the sun, so when it falls onto a planet, the entire atmosphere and water evaporate. Even if you hide underground, avoiding the cosmic bolt that affects up to tens of kilometers below the surface is almost impossible. I might survive somehow, but number 26, Atal, and the Mother of the Sky cannot escape death. Not even spaceships will help. The research base brought by humans is far away from here. Even if my body has been strengthened, reaching there within a few minutes to an hour is impossible. Even if, by some incredible stroke of luck, the cosmic bolt is launched several hours later, it's still a problem. As soon as we leave the planet in a spacecraft, the fleet escorting the Imperial mothership will intercept us. So, we stop them here. If avoiding it is impossible, we have no choice but to defend against the attacks of that Imperial mothership. The first thing that comes to my mind is the ability derived from the plunderer's irregular polyhedron. The irregular polyhedron of the plunderer allows the conversion of equipment into abilities. I utilized that ability to devour the brain deity, the cult's orbital bombardment weapon, gaining its destructive power. No, with just that ability, I can't defeat the cosmic bolt. The newly acquired ability falls slightly short in output compared to the brain deity. When I consumed the plasma launcher, my body's output surpassed the original, but it was the opposite with the brain deity. Even at its original state, the brain deity's output was far below that of the cosmic bolt. Taking it with decreased power won't make much difference. I can only buy a few minutes at best. Still, it's the most powerful weapon I have. So, I have to find a way to increase the output somehow. If it's the symbol of hunt, I could dramatically increase the output. But originally, the cooldown for the symbol of hunt was 24 hours. Even after breaking through Transcendence Level 2, the cooldown for the symbol of hunt remained the same. Damn. They treated it like something I used during my evolution. Seeing that the remaining time for the symbol of hunt is 18 hours, it's clear. Similarly, the cooldown for the Horizon of Nightmares still displayed 7 days. Though they are now separate cooldowns due to the removal of the restriction, both are unusable in the current situation. Frustrating. My trump card, the symbol of hunt, is unusable. New message. I hadn't checked it yet. Desperate for any solution, I checked the new message that had just arrived. Unlocking the Transcendence Level 2 reward, new trait Organic Evolution, unique is provided. Unlocking the new type Space Monster, unique. Unlocking the new system trait enhancement. Huh. I thought the Transcendence Level 2 reward would end with unlocking a new type and removing constraints on the traits I possessed, but it was not the case. They added related traits to the reward because I need them for unlocking the benefits. I read through the explanations in the text box with fascination. Organic evolution, it's not the strong who survive but the ones who endure becoming strong. You can choose one of two special states for transformation. King of Monsters, grow and enhance your body into a gigantic creature. Requires a space with a radius of over 100 meters. It's a special state that consumes a tremendous amount of energy, and once the energy is depleted, the state is released. Maximum duration is 10 minutes with a cooldown of 30 days. Intelligent Weakling, shrink your body into a small creature and preserve internal energy. The shrunken state doesn't exceed 5 meters. Some ability usage is restricted, but special benefits related to the state are provided. The user can release it at will. Maximum duration is 7 days with a cooldown of 30 days. Transformation cannot be cancelled or changed during the process. Both special states share a cooldown. Subsequent acquisition of traits will allow obtaining new special states. Note, evolution and cycle. What awaits at the end? Perhaps, as you may be able to know this. Just a moment ago, I was cursing the game company, but now I couldn't bring myself to do so. Organic evolution. This could be useful. I may not know exactly how to trigger the transformation, but it seems beneficial for overcoming this predicament. Right. The special state known as the King of Monsters. According to the description, it enhances and grows the body. With this, I should be able to increase the output. In a situation where I can't use the symbol of hunt, having a similar card in hand was a welcome development. However, there was still an uncertainty. The key is how much this trait can enhance. Looking at the cooldown and restrictions, it reminded me of the symbol of hunt and horizon of nightmares. Given the limitations, one can easily infer that the effect of this trait is quite powerful. Still, gambling is not a good idea. A wrong move here could lead to our total annihilation. To stop the cosmic bolt, we need to pull in everything possible. Output, I need to find a way to increase it. The remaining time until launch is uncertain. Even using this trait will require time. I can't keep pondering indefinitely. Let's think for just one more minute. I desperately racked my brain to find any possible solutions. Little one, are you in a lot of pain? Pain. Yes. Want to play with a toy? Okay. In my eyes, I saw the figures of number 26 and Atal. Number 26 had brought a loot bag and was taking items out one by one in front of Atal. It felt like the black light of the cosmic bolt could fall upon us at any moment. If hit by the firepower of the cosmic bolt, they would all burn without feeling a thing. While watching them, 1 minute passed. No new ideas emerged. I have no choice but to go with this. Wait a moment. Seeing the bag number 26 was holding, a crucial fact suddenly crossed my mind. The bag contained equipment and items I obtained by killing Muriel, including the priestess's golden staff, the blood reaver, and her potions. Among them was the potion she had used. I hurriedly approached 26. What's wrong? ZZZZZZZZZZZZZZ, can you lend me the bag for a moment? Does the big one need a toy too? ZZZ, yes. After receiving the bag, I took out a small kit from inside. When I opened it, there was a violet glowing vial. Great. There's still one left. This potion is called Cyanim. It temporarily boosts the condition of the drinker by 1 level. If I drink Cyanim, I can instantly transform into an adult. Becoming an adult has 2 tremendous benefits. First, the power becomes significantly stronger, reaching a level where I can confront the cosmic bolt. Second, my head grows to 3. In reality, the increase in the number of heads is not necessarily a good thing. Originally, the increase in heads is meant to enhance the utility of the jaws of the essence harvester. With 3 heads, collecting the heads of enemies becomes easier. In reality, due to the presence of corrosive tentacles, the significance of this increase has diminished. But at this moment, having an increased number of heads is crucial. The name of the trait I created by devouring the brain deity is Divine Mace. It's the ability to shoot out condensed energy lines of the brain deity's lightning. If you ask where it is fired, it's directly from the mouth. Just like when I absorbed the plasma launcher and shot plasma energy lines, they only come out from my mouth. It doesn't fire from the corrosive tentacles or any other part. In other words, if I become a monster with 3 heads, it means I can unleash energy lines equivalent to the brain deity from 3 heads simultaneously. A monster, no. King of monsters with 3 heads, and the trait obtained by devouring the brain deity. With this, I can do it. With these 3, I can stop the cult's ultimate weapon for purifying the planet, the cosmic bolt. Chapter 145. The name of the drug in the ampule I'm holding is Synim. Instead of enhancing the user with each use, this drug randomly reduces its duration while providing a reinforcement effect. I've used it before when fighting against Si-Hyun Yujin, a genetically modified human from the Yujin family. Back then, in my fluid state, I consumed Synim, temporarily gaining the power of an astral being to confront her. Anyway, I've already used it once. Originally, the duration should decrease. But this is an improved version used by Muriel. She said she enjoyed the reinforcement effect for a much longer time compared to regular Synim. So, I can't predict how long the effect will last. Regardless, the duration won't be that long. At least 5 minutes, maybe 8 or 9 minutes at most should be assumed. In other words, Synim's effect ends earlier than the maximum duration of the King of Monsters. Logically, it would be correct to use the King of Monsters first, but there's a problem to consider before that. If you use up all your energy, the state will be released. According to the description of the organic evolution trait, transforming into the King of Monsters consumes a considerable amount of energy. The Divine Scepter will probably consume a lot of energy too. Both Divine Scepter and the King of Monsters consume the stored biological energy in my body. The total amount of energy shouldn't be a big problem. Before entering Transcendent Stage 2, I devoured the Swamp King and creatures in the swamp, and recently, I even swallowed the whole Hond Gigant. Both creatures are powerful predators reigning over the same Thopia 2 continent. Moreover, I believe a morph's energy consumption is very efficient, so there shouldn't be a shortage of energy. Of course, I can't be 100% sure. Both traits are not present in the game. I haven't personally tried them. However, I've faced similar crises in the game a few times. I've faced massive onslaughts from outspacers, participated in large-scale massacres, and even intercepted Megacorp's planet-destroying weapon, Nova, by flying into the stratosphere. In fact, I now have more cards to play than I did back then, making the situation even better. With Amorph's excellent senses and my intuition. Just as I've overcome previous difficulties, I should be able to overcome this crisis as well. All that's left is when the cosmic bolt will fall. I don't have a way to find out in the current situation, but there's one method. The Predator sense that informs me of my crisis. The moment of fleeting future flashes before my eyes is the time to strike. After making the decision, I took out the Synim ampule from Muriel's kit and stored it in my mouth. Wrestling with the massively enlarged body to hold the ampule was to avoid damage. Because it'll be hard to eat in the King of Monsters state. Although I was prepared, the Predator sense hasn't sent any news yet. I activated the organic evolution trait and chose the King of Monsters. And then, location not suitable. Please maintain distance from allies. The transformation did not take place. Not here. While there were many trees around, the location I was in was a plain. The description of the special state only mentioned a required space within a radius of 100 meters, with no other specifics. Does it mean there shouldn't be obstacles? Wait, could it be the distance from allies? In front of me were 26, Adha, and the Mother of the Sky. Zuzas, wait here for a moment. After informing them, I left the location. The direction I headed was straight to the riverside. There were no obstacles like trees there. I ran with all my power, utilizing all my body's organs to their muscular limits, including 6 combat arms, tail, and blunt claws. Upon reaching the riverside, I activated the trait again. The location is not suitable. And inevitably, the unsuitable message appeared. I looked around. Although this place was near the river, it was sparsely populated with trees, more like the edge of the forest. Since there was no mention of allies, it seemed that the obstacle part was omitted in the King of Monsters description. I quickly jumped into the river. Only after arriving at the center of the river did the message appear that transformation into the King of Monsters was possible. At this point, it should easily exceed 100 meters, right? The width of this river is not narrow. It should easily exceed 100 meters from the center of the river to the bank. Just as I wondered how much larger it would become, something passed in front of my vision. It's here. The scene of the black flames, the cosmic bolt, tearing through the atmosphere and devouring everything in its path. As soon as I recognized that scene, I immediately transformed into the King of Monsters. Ugh! Pain nullification activated. Unlike other evolutions, tremendous pain surged. It was an intense pain that I had never experienced before. Even with pain nullification activated, it was this severe. If I didn't have the memory of childhood full body burns, I would have instantly lost consciousness. Moreover, it wasn't just the pain. Even in the midst of transformation, the energy consumption rate was enormous. It felt like the overwhelming force of releasing 3 consecutive psychic breaths. Ugh, ugh. I have to eat now. Somehow, I managed to hold on to my sanity and bit into what was inside my mouth. The small ampule shattered, and the synonym inside poured into my throat. Gah, gah. Unable to endure the pain any longer, I let out a loud scream. As the river evaporated and the trees on the bank were uprooted, a wave of intense energy obscured my vision. Cosmic bolt launch ready. Energy output at 500%, charging complete. Dark matter regulator in operation. Purification process initiated. Coordinate input completed. Estimated damage assessment complete. Contrasting with purification mission. In the situation room where the cosmic bolt launch was imminent, the captain secretly bit his lips. In the end, his subordinates did not return until the launch. He didn't know whether they were alive or dead, what happened on planet PH-101, and he would probably never know. I'll never be able to know in the future. Thinking about the fallen subordinates, the captain closed his eyes tightly. Meanwhile, the countdown continued quickly. Huh? Captain. Powerful energy waves detected. At that moment, a cult crew member observing the planet's energy flow shouted. The captain opened his eyes at his words. Energy waves? Is it a magnetic storm, perhaps? I don't know. This is. It's not spread across the entire planet but concentrated at a specific point. What? The crew member displayed an image using psychic power. The entire continent within the planet was covered by a massive energy storm. The cult members in the situation room were shocked to see that. Oh my goodness. I've never seen such a flow of energy before. Magnetic storms occur in all directions across a planet, so it wouldn't concentrate at a specific point like this. In other words, that abnormal storm was undoubtedly created by some specific entity. Could it be the source of contamination? The command given to the Judicator of Damocles 08 was to purify the contaminated PH-101. That abnormal storm was undoubtedly created by entities that polluted the planet. Darn it. So, everyone has perished. That continent is where the wolf natives reside. The extermination force must have gone to capture the wolves but unfortunately encountered that source of contamination. It's an entity that influences a continent. No matter how powerful the extermination force is, it is impossible to survive against such an unreasonable existence. Can we observe the source of contamination with the ship's camera? The energy flow is so intense that I'll still give it a try. The cult crew operated the ship's computer using psychic power. A few seconds later, the observed image of the ground appeared in the center of the situation room. Cult members who confirmed the appearance of the source of contamination screamed in unison. The captain didn't scold them because he himself almost screamed when he saw it. For an unknown reason, the image quality was not very good, but everyone present could easily confirm the appearance of it at that moment. The reason was that it was extremely gigantic. When roughly comparing it to the surrounding trees, it was estimated to be well over 200 meters in length. The source of contamination had a total of 3 heads. Except for the central head, the other 2 heads had the same appearance, resembling carnivorous dragons with pointed beaks, similar to Sagil 8's native creature, Monic Arma. There were no visible visual organs in these heads. Instead, horns grew in those spots. Instead of eyes, long and thin tentacles below the jaws seemed to serve as sensory organs. Even in the image on the screen, the 2 heads were constantly flicking the tentacles without rest. In the center was the middle head. It possessed 6 large horns, a long and wide back head shell reminiscent of a crown. Unlike the heads on the sides, this one had eyes, constantly scanning the surroundings like sly serpents. Horns, back head shell, and eyes. The captain believed that this head held the highest command. The neck supporting the 3 heads was quite long and thick, resembling a snake. In the area where the long neck and head met, tentacle clusters that looked like hair hung down. Even up to this point, the appearance was sufficiently repulsive, but it became even more grotesque when looking at the body. The creature's back was covered in a jet black exoskeleton, resembling the dark matter used by the cult. 8 whorl-shaped cavities adorned its back, each housing pipes that extended in a row, connecting to the tail. From the pipes, an unidentifiable gas constantly poured out, rising into the sky. It was probably these gases that caused the decrease in image quality observed by the ship's camera. Descending from the exoskeleton on the back were 6 legs. More precisely, there were 4 front legs that seemed to serve as arms and were much larger than the other arms, and 2 significantly larger hind legs. Perhaps the creature was crouching, making the arms look like legs. All the legs were wrapped in an exoskeleton similar to the back, and the joints appeared more numerous than those of ordinary organisms. The appearance was reminiscent of a spider, giving an instinctive sense of disgust. Especially between the legs, there were folds of flesh, making it far from pleasant to look at. Although the purpose was unknown, if it was intended to evoke revulsion in the observer, it certainly achieved its goal. After the horrifying legs, finally, the tail. The creature with 3 heads also had multiple tails. The tail, which accounted for about a third of the body's weight, was split into 2 branches from a certain point in the lower body. In other words, it meant the tail was split into 2. The right tail had a giant pincer at the end, and the left tail had a stinger resembling that of a scorpion. The devil with 3 heads. Someone muttered upon seeing the contamination source on the screen. The captain thought that expression was appropriate. Its appearance was truly that of an evil dragon straight out of cult mythology, the contamination source threatening the security of the cult empire, the devil with 3 heads. The captain shouted until his throat tore apart. Immediately incinerate that blasphemous being. Understood. Adjusting the coordinates. The cosmic bolt's cannons aimed at the blasphemous entity. In a moment, that contamination source would be eliminated. As always. No, it had to be that way. Although I gained a new body, I couldn't observe the changes. Thinking that there was no need to worry about the held energy was a complete misjudgment. An enormous amount of energy was currently being drained in real time. It was inevitable. After becoming the king of monsters, the detection range of auxiliary sensors had become incredibly vast. I could monitor about a third of the Saintopia 2 continent where I stood. Along with energy consumption, I barely managed to keep my sanity amidst the vast amount of information. I filtered out as much irrelevant information as possible and focused only on the cosmic bolt descending through the planetary atmosphere. Finally, I conveyed a message to them with the monster's tentacles. ZZZZZZZZ, everyone, evade on your own. If they were the mothers of the sky, they should understand what I meant. No, they had to understand. I felt sorry for the kids, but I couldn't afford to pay attention to them. Even a slight distraction might cause them to collapse right away. And finally, the time has come. As if time had slowed down, the cosmic bolt descends slowly here. The sky splits, the air vibrates, and the ground beneath my feet ripples. In the slowed space-time, I lifted my head towards the sky. The punishing scepter of the gods. The jet black, dark black back, where pipes are lined up in a row, begins to glow golden one by one. Waves of gold ascend through my long necks. As the light passes through the monster's tentacles and reaches my throat holes. Through me, the gods swing the scythe of punishment. It was like lightning, and it looked like hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of thin filaments merging into one. The important thing was that lightning-like filaments emanated from a total of 3 places. The black flames descending to burn the ground and the golden lightning brilliantly collide. In that moment, the sky tore apart. Not metaphorically, but literally, the atmosphere of this planet is tearing apart. The tremendous shockwave created as the lightning from the 3 heads collided with the cosmic bolt. Clouds disappeared, and unexpectedly, auroras occurred in the sky, twisted by the distorted magnetic field. Along with the atmospheric changes, dozens of fiery vortexes descended from the sky to the ground. The ground where I stand shakes as if in an earthquake, and the river evaporates at a rapid speed. Trees within a radius of several kilometers from where I stand burst into flames all at once. Cook. The complete body of a king of monsters, combined with the divine sigh infused with the power of the brain god. I thought this much would be possible, but it's not easy. While spewing lightning, I also gauged the remaining energy. Just a little more. The effect of Sayanim wouldn't be released, but the king of monsters and the divine scythe are different. It will be cancelled as soon as the energy runs out. Just a bit more. Little by little, the lightning began to push back the black flames and the cosmic bolt. If I push a bit more here, the Imperial flagship will overload, forcing the cosmic bolt to stop. I thought I could endure a bit more, but suddenly, dozens of filaments rained down from the sky. Flagship fleet. I hadn't noticed as I was focused on the cosmic bolt, but the cult's warships were floating in the sky. Knowing that the Imperial flagship was clashing with me, the warships of the fleet division came to support. It's challenging to attack separately from here. Thanks to the effect of the King of Monsters, the filaments they shot did not inflict fatal wounds on me. It hurt, but I could endure. However, due to the continuous rain of filaments, it was challenging to maintain focus. Is there a way? Ah! Suddenly, a good idea crossed my mind, and I calculated the remaining energy. It's possible. Even while shooting the divine scythe, there is a way to deal with those annoying gnats-like ships. The drawback is that the duration of the King of Monsters will be slightly reduced. The monstrous tentacle, accepting my will, moves. As there are 3 heads, the monstrous tentacles on the back of my head and neck are also generated in 3 places. So, psychic breath can be aimed in 3 directions. Until now, I haven't specifically controlled the direction of the psychic breath. There was no need to do so. There's only the constraint of maintaining focus. The direction itself should be controllable. The only problem is that I've never actually tried it. Once again, I don't like having to take risks, but there's no choice. This is my last stand. It's time to throw the decisive blow. The golden pipes that were shining earlier are now flickering in violet. Similar to the whip of the gods, the violet light moves sequentially from the tip of the tail. So far, I've been trying hard to aim the monster's tentacles towards the target. Controlling the monster's tentacles on the 3 heads simultaneously was never easy. It was a delicate operation to the point that, had it not been for Ameth's exceptional senses, I would have failed. Unconsciously, blood flowed from my eyes and mouth, but I ignored it. The excruciating pain, as if my brain were going to burn, attacked me, but I eventually succeeded. The monster's tentacles listened to my command, aiming at the direction of the enemy battleships. That's it. The monster's tentacle, absorbing all the violet psychic power, sways smoothly like a conductor's baton. In accordance with the command, a violet sphere rises in front of the dragon's head that spews lightning. Even when I used psychic breath before, the size was quite large, but now, tailored to my body, it was enormous, exceeding 200 meters. Whether they sensed the essence of my psychic power or not, the enemy battleships hurriedly tried to retreat. Where are you going? The dragon's breath towards their fleeing rears erupted. In the place where the violet filaments, reaching several kilometers away, passed by the battleships, only a large-scale explosion remained. The battleships that went beyond the range of my filaments quickly escaped beyond the planet's atmosphere. Those unable to do so became alloy rain, falling to the ground. Now I have about 2 minutes left, no, maybe just a minute. Having repelled the battleships, I poured all my focus into shooting the scythe of the gods. As the remaining energy approaches the bottom, my vision becomes blurry. Only the auxiliary organs under my chin, which have always accompanied me through life and death, continue to report my energy consumption. Please. Finally, as if roaring a plea, I unleashed the lightning. Did it work? The cosmic bolt descending to annihilate everything. The black filaments extending to a radius of several hundred meters blinked like malfunctioning lights and disappeared. As if ascending to become a dragon, the lightning I shot soared into the sky without any obstacles. Following that, a second sun rose high in the sky, confirming that it was the last flash emitted by the Imperial flagship annihilated by the scepter of the gods. I lost consciousness. Chapter 146. The battleships of the cult are renowned for their elegant design. Especially, the Imperial battleship deployed for purification missions is likened to the jewels of the universe, resembling processed diamonds. Perhaps, it could be an accurate nickname. The production and maintenance costs of the Imperial battleship are astronomical. A beautiful jewel of the cosmos and a treasure of the cult empire, one of them being the Judicator of Damocles 08. The ship, dedicated to the security of the cult empire, faced a serious crisis. The flow of space power is reversing. The overload has exceeded 200%. At this rate, the ship will collapse. A chaotic situation, with the command center shaking as if it could shatter at any moment. Decorations that once illuminated the interior fell and shattered, sparks continuously flying from machinery and devices, including computers. Amidst the turmoil, cult crew members, desperately holding their ground in the chaos of the abyssal vortex, urgently relayed the situation. What happened to the battleship? 30% silence due to enemy psychic power attack. Just with one blow. That's impossible. Even in the midst of the commotion, the captain, without losing composure, examined the images in the command center. The dark substance manipulated by the Imperial battleship is a delicate yet dangerous force. The advanced modules attached to the battleship are not just for charging and firing space bolts. They are also a means to control and regulate the unpredictable beast, the dark substance. Having scrutinized the status of the battleship, the captain made a decision. He spread psychic power throughout the ship, sending a message to the crew members on board. Alert the crew on board. Retreat through the escape pods. Captain. But the crew members were surprised, but the captain remained calm. I will stay here. You all leave this place. Yes. The device controlling the output of space bolts is damaged. Someone has to hold it together until the crew escapes. Having said that, the captain descended among the crew members and began manipulating the computer. He simultaneously controlled psychic power images and operated the ship's computer. Seeing this, the crew members all fell silent. What are you doing? I said, leave quickly. Seeing the captain willing to sacrifice for his subordinates, the crew members exchanged glances. I will take care of this. Quickly, run away. Sorry. Ugh. One of the young crew members took out a gun from his pocket and struck the captain's neck. With a short groan, the captain collapsed. The crew member carefully supported him from falling. We entrust the captain to you. We will buy as much time as possible for you to reach the escape pods. Come on, time is running out. Everyone, to your positions. That guy always singing about wanting to be the captain. Ha-hey-he. Cheerful cult crew members. Instead of sacrificing the captain they admired, they chose to sacrifice themselves. After briefly capturing the scene of their backs, the young cult member, with the captain on his back, left the command center. Behind him, the chants of the cult members echoed. Brave cultists. May destiny harvest us. May destiny harvest us. He silently vowed to convey their noble sacrifice to the Empire. May destiny harvest them. After a while, numerous escape pods were launched from the Imperial battleship. Some were transferred to nearby battleships of the fleet, while others disappeared into the far reaches of space. The Imperial battleship, which had endured until the last escape pod was launched, finally began to collapse, unable to withstand the pressure. The outer armor of the ship, which had maintained a perfect balance like refined diamonds, twisted and shattered, and the central command center, located at the top, oxidized with an explosion. The space bolt launcher at the center of the ship warped rapidly, as if being sucked into something, through the gaps in the damaged armor. At that moment, dark substances began to ooze out. A golden lightning bolt from Sagel-08 struck, striking the black energy. Soon, an immense light reminiscent of a supernova enveloped both the battleship and the fleet. I've won. Having confirmed the explosion of the Imperial battleship, I passed out. Although I thought it wasn't right to lose consciousness when there were still enemy ships remaining, it was unavoidable. It wasn't something I could control with my will. I'm still alive. It seems they've retreated over there. Huh. Whether it was the aftermath of the King of Monsters or the fact that my body lacked strength, something continued to enter my mouth persistently. Waking up my dulled senses, I realized that the unidentified food was biological meat. Someone was feeding me various kinds of meat, including hondo gigants. The well-cooked meats passed through my throat, quickly digesting, and vitality very slowly returned. The tentacles and auxiliary mechanisms of the monster, which had not reacted at all to external disturbances, gradually activated. Only then could I roughly assess my physical condition. My body had returned to its original state after the effects of Sayanim ended. The two supporting heads had disappeared, and the lower combat arm, which had served as a leg, returned to a similar appearance as the other arms. Through Sayanim, my body had temporarily evolved into a mature form, and now it had returned to its original state. While my senses were recovering, the intake of the unknown food into my mouth continued. I explored my surroundings using the auxiliary mechanism located under my jaw. Only then could I confirm who was feeding me. The energy may be insufficient. Keep feeding. Big One. You mustn't die. Me. Pray. Big One. Survive. Creatures gathered near my head. When the Mother of the Sky and Atal brought food, number 26 cut the food appropriately and pushed it into my mouth. Why are they bringing food so quickly? To find out what had happened, I opened my eyes. Number 26, which was tearing apart a completely blackened animal with its tentacles, and Atal, who was carrying small animal corpses, were surprised when they saw me. The Big One is awake. Big One. Survive. Confirmed. Number 26 illuminated its body brightly, and Atal threw aside the small animal carcasses held by the tentacles and ran towards me. Don't stop. His stamina may not have fully recovered yet. Yeah. Affirmative. To the creatures celebrating my survival, the Mother of the Sky sent a mental message. In the distance, through the burning trees, I could see her figure. Covered in singed fur, she carried the large creature's meat on her back. Fire. I looked up, and there was a burning sky there. After the destruction of the Imperial battleship, its debris had turned into a meteor shower, still pouring onto the planet. Seeing that, not only this area but the entire continent of Utopia too, or even the entire PH-101 would have turned into a sea of fire. Indeed. After a brief consideration, the taste of barbecue or charred meat from the food entering my mouth seemed strange. I now understood. They had brought me the meat of dead creatures burned in the forest. Even after I regained consciousness, the three continued to feed me without a break. Although I wanted to tell them it was okay if they didn't, everyone here already knew that wasn't the case. I quietly received and ate the food like a baby bird. It would have been dangerous if it was a situation where corpses couldn't be easily obtained. Although the effect of the King of Monsters was excellent, the side effects were unusual. Psychic breath, which would make you lose consciousness if fired beyond the limit, and the symbol of hunt, which would cause a rampage if there was insufficient residual energy, were as dangerous as the King of Monster itself. To think this is the result of transforming just once. When a morph became an adult, the efficiency of using the stored energy significantly increased. If I hadn't transformed into an adult, my energy would have quickly depleted due to the effects of the King of Monsters. In the end, I survived thanks to the children and the Mother of the Sky. The reason I'm still breathing is because they made an effort to save me. They are allies. Although the situation was too urgent earlier for me to confirm properly, the message clearly said allies. I could figure out who those allies were without being told, but the important part is not that. A morph cannot interact with other life forms according to the system. It's a race that repeats only hunting and killing, like a killing machine. The fact that a morph has been recognized by the system for creating comrades raises a question. What does it mean? or rather, the amorph is evolving. In most cases, sociability is advantageous for survival. Animals that live in groups can effectively defend against attacks from stronger enemies. Even in humans with many unfavorable factors for survival, prosperity is achieved thanks to sociability. Even when using the symbiotic spore, such messages didn't appear. This statement means that something fundamental has changed between then and now, and there's a point to be noted. Space monster type. I opened a translucent text box and confirmed the type at the bottom. Space monster, unique, perfect organism, unique, horizon of nightmares, unique, organic evolution, unique. There, the previously classified perfect organism and horizon of nightmares, which were originally categorized as body-related types and nest-related types, were moved. All were obtained through the Transcendent system, utilizing the unique trait synthesis system. I would have been in big trouble if I hadn't obtained nest-related traits in advance. The number of required traits to obtain a new type doubles each time a type is acquired. For example, let's say the requirements for obtaining nest reinforcement type and special defense reinforcement type are both 8 traits each. If you first acquire nest reinforcement type, the number of traits needed to obtain special defense reinforcement type increases to 16. The problem is that if traits related to a previously acquired type are lost, the type's enhancement effect is lost, considering it as not acquired. One must fill up to 16 traits to receive the type enhancement effect if the requirement has increased from the original 8 traits. What needs attention is that the required number of traits does not revert to the previous state. While it only took 8 traits to obtain the type, if the required number has increased to 16 after obtaining the type, you must fill up to 16 traits to receive the type enhancement effect. I'm not trying to mess with anyone. They're changing it freely without a single message. If by any chance, I had a small number of acquired traits, I would have suffered significant losses, such as losing nest reinforcement type. Fortunately, before entering Transcendence 2, I spent 14 hours wandering through the swamp and obtained numerous miscellaneous traits. At that time, I acquired several infection-related traits and nest-related traits, besides the pincer trait. Thanks to that, I didn't suffer any loss of type effects even when traits were moving around arbitrarily. At that time, I wondered if I could use them as materials. It turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Anyway, moving only the traits obtained through the unique trait synthesis system to the new type was significant in various ways. Transforming into a more powerful monster with perfect organism, dominating and corroding battleships with horizon of nightmares, and the ability to use organic evolution by exchanging the giant creature trait and dwarfing trait. These traits go beyond morph's limits. Moreover, the unique type is unprecedented in the game. And there's no type with descriptions attached like it is now. For every type acquired by a morph, there is no explanation of the effects or the types of characteristics involved. Players must personally confirm with their own eyes. While that is the principle, it seemed that the unique level type like the space monster type had descriptions available. I opened the attached text box that came with the space monster type. Space monster, unique. The ultimate goal of evolution is to surpass the limits of the species. As additional characteristics acquired through the Transcend system are added, this type progressively receives additional effects. This type ignores penalties resulting from acquiring types. Star 1 SD stage required characteristic count, 3/4. Star 2 ND stage required characteristic count, 3/8. Star 3 RD stage required characteristic count, 3/. Star 4 TH stage required characteristic count, 3/. Reading the content, I could understand why an explanation was necessary. The type effect for Transcendence second stage was quite unique. A type that strengthens progressively, I haven't seen one like this before. Typically, a type has no effect when unlocked, and it only comes into play after meeting the conditions and acquiring it. There are no cases where, like the space monster type, acquiring a certain number of characteristics gives a special effect. But there's no indication of what effect it gives. It's not written anywhere, as expected. Without any clues, it's premature to conclude, but I thought it might provide a very powerful effect. Now, what's left is the characteristic enhancement system. I want to check it immediately, but a severe fatigue rushes in. My stomach is gradually grumbling, and I feel warmth from the ground, perhaps due to the surrounding fires. The desire to sleep surges. Big one, if you're sleepy, you can sleep. Big one? Tired. Even though the urgent fires are out, it's better to rest. Since it's a type not found in the game, you don't know what side effects might come. Even though they must be exhausted because of me, they recommend rest. ZZZ, thanks. I couldn't properly express my gratitude and quickly fell into a deep sleep. Mercury. The closest planet to the Sun and the smallest in the solar system, officially under the dominion of Garamalda, one of Megacorp's noble capital. Various noble capitals, like the Eugen family owning the Moon, the Garamalda family dominating Mercury, TNC exerting influence over Phobos and Deimos, competing for Ganymede with prime capital, and so on. The 7 noble families of Megacorp owned various satellites and planets in the solar system. Usually, when a noble capital or prime capital purchases a planet from another star, they send a family member as governor to rule it in their stead. However, Garamalda was a bit different. The current head of the Garamalda family, Chloe Garamalda. For the past decade or so, she had been confined to the weapon research facility located on Mercury. So much so that her nickname is Queen of Mercury. With the head of the family not taking care of family matters, one might think her position would be precarious, but surprisingly, that wasn't the case. This was because the influence of the equipment she developed was tremendous. From weapons to reinforced suits and special drugs enhancing soldiers, every year, thanks to her creation of new deadly weapons, Garamalda maintained the highest state of affluence in its history. So, despite her young age and disinterest in family affairs, she received strong support from the elders. The Queen of Mercury, an outstanding weapons developer, had taken an uncommon vacation today. Lately, the head of the family takes vacations quite often. A few weeks ago too. Biodome-shaped Garamalda Weapons Research Facility researchers were strolling around, and their gaze was directed towards the center of the dome. In the central underground area lies Chloe's residence for the head of the family. It's good timing. She tends to be overly absorbed in her work. If she continues like that and falls ill, it'll be a big problem. While the head is away, let's test the new equipment once more on our own. Chloe, supported by the sewage workers in the same facility, was currently in some space within the residence meant for the head. In the dimly lit place, diamond-shaped stels with connected wires were toppled. Among them, only 2 stels had lights inside and were floating in the air. Seated on a specially developed levitating chair, Chloe opened her mouth towards the 2 stels. Brother Jason, what happened to the Imperial Fleet dispatch? My satellites were split in the middle, so I couldn't grasp the situation. I'm curious about that too. The situation is impossible to assess due to the fleet vanguards. Jason, Chloe, Chewbacca. They, as the leaders of Cult, Megacorp, and Star Union respectively, conspired a few weeks ago to eliminate the notorious 5th ranker, Amorph. They spread false information about the contamination of the planet they suspect as PH-101, referred to as Sagel 08 by the cults, where the 5th ranker is presumed to be hiding. This led to the Cult Council issuing a purification order. Consequently, the Imperial Fleet Judicator of Damocles 08 headed to Sagel 08. Due to the Megacorp vanguards protecting the Imperial Fleet, causing devastation around Sagel 8 satellites of Star Union, Chloe and Chewbacca have yet to grasp the situation. Therefore, with considerable time elapsed since the purification order, they called Jason to confirm the results. It shouldn't have been too difficult since it's a pre-saint. It's a morph, so who knows? The fleet vanguards might have suffered significant damage. Anyway, they're all just toys. If they break, we can replace them with others. A typical Megacorp statement filled with disregard for human life. What are you talking about, dictator? Chloe and Chewbacca can joke like this because they firmly believe that a morph has been dealt with. Even if the 5th ranker had exceptional skills, winning against the Imperial fleet, capable of annihilating all life on a planet, is impossible. There might have been some resistance, but inevitably, the fleet's cosmic bolts would have turned him into a handful of ashes. However, something they never expected might become a reality. Suddenly, a clear female voice delivered a cruel reality to them. It's been a while, Lady Chloe, Lord Chewbacca. Huh? Cynthia? Why are you using Brother Jason's steel? Chloe, who was trimming her nails, was surprised to hear the woman's voice flowing from the steel. Chewbacca, rather than being surprised, seemed to sense an ominous feeling and frowned. Under normal circumstances, I would have used my steel, but due to the urgency of the situation, I used Jason's steel as a substitute. Urgent. What's so urgent? Could it be? Lord Jason's purification order completely failed. The Imperial fleet and the vanguards were annihilated. Because of that, the Council is condemning Lord Jason for violating Providence and planning to attack the sacred place. Lord Jason refused the attendance order and is currently in hiding. I, too, have been summoned to endless hearings due to misinterpreting the prophecy all day and barely managed to come here. Please understand. The worst possible future they had imagined had become a reality. Realizing this fact, Chloe involuntarily dropped the nail grinder she was holding. Chapter 147. The cult priests and prophets launched orbital bombardment on the sacred ground prescribed by the cults. It's not an impossible feat, but it's not something that typically happens. No, to put it bluntly, it's a very rare occurrence. This rarity stems from the fact that the sacred ground is a planet designated by the prophets after interpreting verses mentioned in the cult's revered doctrine over an extended period. The doctrine encompasses the past, present, and future of the cult, serving as a scripture and norm. Therefore, one cannot casually interfere with the sacred grounds mentioned in the doctrine, even if it poses a threat to the empire. Originally, it's like that. No matter how devout a believer is, there are moments when compromises between faith and reality are inevitable. Cults are no exception. There are exceptional cases where special measures are taken regarding the sacred grounds, one of which involves the entire planet corroding due to contamination. Jason capitalized on this point, pressuring the cult council and elders to enforce a purification mission. Cynthia, a member of the Prophecy Assembly, also supported this by claiming errors in the existing interpretation of the doctrine. With the three major institutions of the cult empire, the council, elders, and prophecy assembly, in motion, a purification order contrary to the doctrine could be carried out. If the purification mission had succeeded, the current issues wouldn't have arisen. Removing the most dangerous contaminant in the cult empire would have deprived Jason's opposition of a basis for criticism. However, the purification mission failed, and both the Empire's battleship and fleet were annihilated. Due to the immense losses suffered by the Empire, Jason and Cynthia's position became difficult, pushing them to pursue the purification mission at the risk of violating the doctrine. Even if the pressure on Jason diminishes as things resolve, regaining the same level of power as before is almost impossible. Long-live cults, due to their inherent conservatism, remember past mistakes, especially those of leaders like Jason. Moreover, there's a really big problem. Cynthia mentioned that Jason went into hiding to avoid the council's attendance order, but Chloe easily guessed what he might be up to. Hiding is nonsense. He must be preparing to escape. Anyone experienced in space survival knows that sending an Empire fleet to the sacred ground is an action more fitting for players than cults. The notorious 5th-ranked Amorph is likely to know who attacked him or will find out soon. In other words, the next target he's aiming for is Jason. If it's him, he'll chase us to the end of the universe. Chloe, having experienced it herself, understands well. Not realizing that he was rank 5, she had once interfered with his evolution, nearly quitting the game because of his retaliation. Jason has had a similar experience. He was on the verge of posting an apology on the community board and likely suffered even more than her. Should I run away too? While Chloe is lost in thought, one of the previously silent monuments emanates light. It's the monument of Juvaka. What happened to the records if the battleship was destroyed? What do you mean by records? Just because it's called total annihilation doesn't necessarily mean that everything perished. What's that supposed to mean? The military concept of total annihilation is used when the combat capabilities are so compromised that the mission cannot be continued. Even if the entire fleet is lost, it's too early to say that there are absolutely no survivors. Among those present, Juvaka is the only one directly involved in military affairs. He is the Grand Master of Star Union and the overall commander of the mech fleet. Therefore, he accurately understood what Cynthia's words meant. Cynthia replied to Juvaka's statement. Among the ships that returned from the fleet, only 1 out of 50 is operable. Even that one is severely damaged, with 80% of the crew dying, and it returned through automatic navigation. The captain of the Imperial battleship Judicator of Damocles 08. perished and only 20 survivors boarded the escape pod. What caused the severe damage? According to the investigation, cosmic bolts dark matter reversed and exploded due to an unidentified energy projectile. What about the surviving crew? To close question, Cynthia suddenly fell silent. Cynthia, who had answered fluently until now, hesitated for the first time. What did they say? They said that it was a demon with 3 heads that spouted lightning from its mouth. What? Seriously? Damn. A demon with 3 heads. Chloe knows well what that nickname means. Has he already evolved into the Ascendant stage? If it's the Ascendant stage, it's understandable that the entire fleet was annihilated. As a perennial species, a morph becomes significantly more powerful as it goes backward. The adult form of a morph can contend with elite armies and fleets. Moreover, considering that he annihilated the Imperial battleship and fleet, he might have secured numerous unique traits. If it's the amorph has reached Ascendant, we're in danger too. You know that, right? TSK, I'll contact Inspire. And Cynthia, can you display the footage of him that you captured? The image quality isn't great. It doesn't seem like a situation to complain about image quality right now. Understood? Just wait a moment. Huh? Why, what's wrong? Huh? During their conversation, one of the monuments lying on the ground suddenly floated into the air. Soon, the monument shone, and the voice of an elderly man echoed in the dim space. It's been a while. Like the proverbial tiger responding when spoken to, the new participant was the person Chloe usually refers to as Inspire. Long time no see. Are you well, Akira Eugen? It was Akira Eugen, the CEO of Megacorp and the long-standing king of Earth. Now I can finally live. It's the 2nd day since I repelled the Imperial battleship's assault. I've recovered enough to move, barely like before. On the first day, I didn't move at all and just slept. If I woke up in between, I ate the food brought by number 26 and Atal, and then went back to sleep to appease my hunger. It was like recovering from a cold or flu, and thanks to the restless rest, I could finally get up. Number 26 and Atal, who dedicatedly nursed me all day, collapsed as soon as they confirmed my return to normal. Number 26 was exhausted, and Atal was genuinely in critical condition. Despite being attacked by the horned gigrants last time, Atal continued to hunt for food for me. TL/N, changing horned gigrants to horned gigrants as it makes more sense. PR/N, pathetic condition, dear readers please support Hell so that we can take her to a mental asylum for checkup. I quickly attached symbiotic spores to them and moved them to an underground nest. Due to the confrontation with the Imperial battleship, more than 80% of the nest collapsed, but there was still enough space for number 26 and Atal to lie down. With food placed to satisfy hunger upon waking up, I am currently moving with the Mother of the Sky. Among the crashed ships, this one seems to be the closest. It seems so. As she said, the smell of burnt alloy plates emanates faintly from beyond the forest. We are currently searching for crashed cult ships after being hit by my psychokinesis breath. Most of the crashed ships fell into the sea or other continents, but a few ships crashed on our continent, Utopia too. There's something I want to experiment with. It's about whether heavily damaged ships that have crashed can be dominated. If it's possible to dominate them, it might be worth considering them as targets for corrosion. I originally planned to leave on the research base in the Abyss. The research base is made of black silver and is also very large. If the black-silver effect still remains after my corrosion, it could be a significant force when fighting cults I might encounter in space. With its enormous size, it would be much easier to plunder the boarders who boarded it. Of course, there are downsides. Being large means that the hit area increases. During fleet battles, an increase in the hit area is more of a disadvantage than an advantage. Of course, I can reinforce the ship's durability, but that doesn't mean I won't get hit at all. Moreover, the material called black silver is a double-edged sword. I don't know how it will affect the limitations when I use my psychic breath. On the other hand, cult ships are more suitable for combat. I've already experienced this when I captured the space pirate's ship last time. I actively used the weapons on the ship to defend against the attack of the metallic gremlin. Besides, that ship was not for combat but a trading ship. If I corrode the cult battleships and dominate them, they will be much stronger. Well, I don't know how damaged this one is, or if corrosion is possible. The Mother of the Sky has better eyesight than me. She might already see the appearance of the crashed ship. Can you confirm the appearance of the ship? The wind during the crash makes it hard to see. From the parts above the ground, it doesn't seem to be too damaged. Thank goodness. I glanced briefly at the Mother of the Sky running beside me. The golden fur is reminiscent of ripe barley fields. Now, it's a clean and beautiful sight with a shining luster, but I remember her appearance covered in burns all over her body when she nursed me. Like number 26 and Atal, she also did her best for my survival. Someday, I should repay her. I know her actions were due to the contract I made with her. However, that doesn't negate the fact that the Mother of the Sky took care of me. Later, when the opportunity arises, I plan to give her an appropriate reward. Come to think of it, I haven't apologized yet. I tried to devour her, thinking she was responsible for Atal's death. It was a misunderstanding. Atal, feeling left behind by number 26 and the Mother of the Sky, made an unexpected move. She was not at fault. I wanted to apologize, but with consecutive events, I haven't been able to speak yet. There's a ship ahead. You probably know, but it seems there are some survivors. Wait. I have something to say before that. Something to say. I quickly stopped my legs, which were moving fast, and stood in place. She also stopped running when I suddenly stopped. She, with an elegant eagle-like head, tilted her head. Looking into her pumpkin-colored eyes, I spoke. About what happened with Atal last time. I misunderstood. So, I want to apologize. Huh. Having heard my apology, she blinked her eyes. As if she didn't understand what she heard, she asked again. What did you say just now? Say it again. I'm sorry for not trusting you. After apologizing again, the Mother of the Sky widened her mouth. I judged hastily. I'll make sure this doesn't happen again. Honestly, it's hard to believe you now, but say it once more. I'm sorry. I'll be more careful in the future. Whether she understood that I was sincere or not, she didn't tease me anymore. She looked into my eyes seriously. Got it. I don't know if I'm in a position to accept an apology, but it was true that I couldn't protect Atal. I'll apologize too. Then, that's the end of it? Fine. As I nodded, she sighed. Wow. To hear an apology from the famous Amorph, which I've never heard in the game. It's unbelievable. She shook her head, seemingly impressed at herself. Why did it sound like she was mocking me though? I considered pointing out that there had never been an incident in the game where I needed to apologize to her, but I refrained. Well, I was wrong. While thinking such thoughts, I detected movement from the auxiliary organs. Regularly repeating footsteps, tense heartbeats revealing anxiety, a unique smell of sweat and iron mixed together. Combining all this, it wasn't difficult to figure out who the enemy was. ZZZZZ, enemy? Right. The Mother of the Sky, who realized later than me, turned her gaze through the trees. Cult survivors. The number is ZZZ, 6. Their weapons are rudimentary, except for the purple spray gun. ZZZZZZZZZ shouldn't be difficult. It's a suitable opponent to loosen up my body, which rested for a day. Chapter 148. Ah, Akira. I heard you were not on Earth. What happened? Chloe was taken aback by the sudden appearance of Akira Eugen. She knew Akira had been far away in another star system, mediating an internal conflict as the CEO. In response to her inquiry, Akira nonchalantly replied. Jason sent a summon signal last time, didn't I miss it? It would be rude if it happened again. Alright. However, Chloe didn't trust Akira's words. TL/and the name of the character Chloe in the previous chapter will be changed to Chloe. It sounds much better. He planted a spy on me. Seeing him enter at the perfect moment, Chloe immediately understood. This summon was at her request, and she had taken a vacation to attend it. Information must have leaked from there. Damn it. Akira considered himself a challenger to every noble capital's head who could seize the CEO's position from him. While it was a trait unique to noble capital to view everyone else as competitors, Akira took it to an extreme. His massacres and crimes to control the Eugen family were infamous even among players. Fine, I need to clean up the entourage first. Despite her annoyance at dealing with unnecessary matters, she didn't express it. While she remained silent, Jacob briefly explained the situation to Akira. Akira's first reaction to the explanation was skepticism. Why is that here? Well, it doesn't matter though. Now I understand how T&C presented such research results. No wonder I never get bored. He continued mumbling words that no one could understand. Akira, what does that mean? It's nothing. Anyway, Cynthia, share the hologram from the pillar. Okay. After a while, light emitted from Cynthia's pillar and shot towards a point in the air. The scattered light converged into a hologram. The revealed image was of PH-101, a planet known as Sigil 08, where the rank 5 amorph appeared. Sigil 08, ladies and gentlemen of Megacorp and Star Union, this is the last video sent from the surveillance satellite managing the holy site on PH-101. The being in the video had 3 heads and giant pipe-like structures on its back, resembling the amorph entity but larger. The creature raised all 3 heads to the sky, emitting a powerful light from its mouths. The heat lines of that light, along with the darkness pouring from the sky, created a fierce battle of energies. The creature was facing off against the cosmic bolts shot by the judge of Deimos 08. During the battle, it began to use a new power. Purple energy gathered from its 3 heads and shot towards the sky. The video ended at that point. Afterwards, a magnetic storm occurred on the planet, making it impossible to confirm through the satellite. Was there no video taken from the spaceship? The only ship that returned is heavily damaged. We are trying to restore the video, but good results are unlikely. Hehe, this is tricky. Despite the tense situation, Akira laughed calmly. Surprisingly, if that thing is the entity, Akira, you might be a target too. That's true. If it's really the entity, I might be next. What do you mean? Chloe and Jacob didn't understand, but Akira reacted as if he couldn't understand their reactions. Everyone knows that amorph strength doesn't come from evolution. It comes from acquiring traits to fulfill its evolution conditions. That's the true power of the amorph. We understand that, Akira. Get to the point. If I had been the one to fight 5th rank, I would have managed the Imperial battleship more efficiently. Among the present members, Akira Eugen had fought the 5th rank amorph the most. While he did lose most of the time, he had also achieved some victories. He doesn't prefer confronting enemies directly. It's merely the last resort he takes when finishing them off or when self-defense is impossible. Due to his extensive experience in battles with rank 5 amorphs, Akira knew the entity's preferred style well: strategies involving reverse engineering through communication, aerial combat utilizing flight capabilities, biochemical terrorism using viruses and parasites, and tactics exploiting the enemy's fear for self-destruction. According to Akira's judgment, the rank 5 amorph wasn't a warrior. It was a hunter. Perhaps he does it intentionally. To manipulate our judgment. I see it differently. The 2 types of heat lines in the current video. These are abilities not present in the game. There are other means to stop the Imperial battleship, so why use these abilities? Especially when it's clear that information would leak. A valid point. Chloe now understood what Akira was trying to convey. Did he go to such lengths to break the Imperial battleship? It's the last resort. It means he's still weak. True. If he truly were at the ascendant stage, he would have ended the Imperial battleship before they fired the cosmic bolt. It's not like that. So, Akira-sama, are you suggesting that the amorph hasn't fully evolved into the ascendant stage? As soon as Cynthia finished speaking, a thought crossed Chloe and Jacob's minds. How did it obtain that much power on the planet, and what was Muriel's role? Don't you all know? A means to experience that taste briefly without fulfilling evolution conditions. Psionicum. Chloe realized that her developed psionicum had greatly aided the enemy's survival and clenched her teeth. Speculatively, he probably left the planet already to fulfill the evolution conditions. It's impossible to evolve into the ascendant stage on PH-101. And it's troubling. We need to establish a countermeasure system. We should report this to the Prophets' Council. They may or may not listen to my words. Do that. I happen to know a place the entity might go, so I'll stop by on my way. While Chloe internally expressed her frustration, players began discussing how to deal with a morph. Kaya. Kek. This should be the last one. Clearing out the cult survivors wasn't a challenging task. Originally members of the mothership battleship, the cultists were all elite soldiers. However, due to the ship crash, they had lost most of their weapons. Most of the crew had died from the crash, resulting in very few survivors near the ship we visited, and among them, 4 were injured. The features of that transcendence system of yours are truly overpowered? Oh, really? As I spoke with the voice of a female cultist, the Mother of the Sky shuddered. Upon reaching Transcendence Stage 2, the restrictions on the Transcendence organ were completely lifted. Now, I could perfectly replicate the appearance of the last consumed individual using pheromones. The function to mimic the voice of the Transcendence organ was also working properly. The problem is that my size has become too large. The effect of reaching Transcendence Level 2 didn't transform my body into that of a human. It deceived the senses of other organisms by emitting pheromones that made them perceive me as human-like. As my size increases, the discomfort felt by other creatures grows, making it challenging to deceive with pheromones alone. In the game, incomplete entities weren't this massive. With the application of 3 characteristics: perfect organism, horizon of nightmares, and organic evolution, my body is much larger than a typical incomplete entity. Utilizing organic evolution to transform into an intelligent weakling state, deceiving enemies solely with the disguise function of the entity is not as easy as before. At least my voice has returned to normal. Due to the characteristics, I can now replicate the voice of my last consumed victim using pheromones. Although I find the comment from the Mother of the Sky about my choice of a girl's voice slightly disturbing, I plan to use this voice for a while. There's a possibility they'll come back. Considering the potential return of the cultists, I need to be prepared. Although it's unlikely that the cult will send an Imperial battleship to this planet again, as it's designated as a holy land, I can't be too certain. The influence of doctrine in cult society is complex. For cultists, doctrine holds a significant status similar to the Quran in Islam, Gita in Hinduism, Bible in Christianity, serving as a scripture and guiding principle for their lives. While most members strictly adhere to the doctrine, cultists, unlike religious individuals in reality, don't always adhere to it thoroughly. However, it's different in governmental institutions like the Council. Doctrine contains crucial prophecies related to the cult's future. Some guide the revival of the cult empire, while others are linked to its decline. The problem lies in the lack of clarity on which path leads to a better future. To violate or adhere to the doctrine is a crucial decision for cult players. The unique system of the cult race is a quest, but unifying cult society is also a major task. The most important factor in uniting cult society is the doctrine. However, exceptions exist where violating the doctrine is inevitable. For example, if there is an attack from the Outspacer or the emergence of the Vortex One, opinions may differ on whether to leave the Holy Land or engage in purification. I recently investigated the memories of cultists using the human face characteristic. They came to this planet under the pretext of purifying the contamination, but the exact nature of the contamination remains unknown. The power of the opposing player is greater than anticipated. Among the deer antler cultists, there must be some in high-ranking positions. They may be members of the Council, leaders of the Elder Council, or even prophets affiliated with the Prophecy Society. To carry out the purification order, I need to convince the 3 power structures of the cult, the Council, the Elder Council, and the Prophecy Society. It seems the task was rushed. If the intention was manipulation, it would have been more effective to carry it out perfectly from start to finish. Perhaps the goal was to capture me as quickly as possible. Hence, they deployed the Imperial battleship without fully explaining what the contamination was. The high-ranking cult player who led this might have used their connections and power to hastily convince the cultists. His judgment isn't bad, assuming the purification operation was successful. Even if the purification operation was successful, significant damage occurred in the cult empire due to my actions. Already, the situation is complicated by an additional risk arising from the forced violation of doctrine. Those who oppose the player's opinions will naturally resist, and those who followed the player's opinions might attempt to reinterpret the prophecies of the doctrine. Even if the player who led this is a formidable figure, enduring their political onslaught is by no means an easy task. By now, they might be facing considerable difficulties. Cultists tend to be conservative, so it will take quite some time to decide how to respond. While it's a fact that the Imperial battleship was destroyed, the opposing player might argue for increased surveillance over the Holy Land. They might even suggest sending numerous satellites to thoroughly scan the planet. The fortunate part is that the universe is helping me. Due to the confrontation between me and the Imperial battleship, intermittent magnetic storms are occurring on the planet. This instability in the planetary atmosphere, resulting from the conflict between the cosmic bolt and the divine scepter, causes storms earlier than the usual cycle. Once the atmosphere stabilizes, the magnetic storms will cease, and I need to leave before that happens. I have 5 days left until I can use the Horizon of Nightmares. Although there are no immediate threats to my life, I can't be complacent. The situation is precarious, like a house built on sand. Let's focus on what we can do right now. I need to start by assessing whether I can corrode this battleship buried halfway in the ground. If you release me, I will provide detailed information from the ship's operation to repairs. I understand that better than you. I will take care of it. Damn. You're not an engineer, you're a medical officer. Shut up. This battleship model is a new escort ship created by the technicians of the Star Union. It is made of an alloy containing moon silver and is equipped with a reflection function. If you save me, I can give you a detailed explanation. The 5 faces near the top of my back, created using the human face characteristic, become noisy, prompting me to silence them forcibly. Extracting corroding tendrils from the holes in my back, I proceed to examine the partially buried warship. Let's check it out. The tendrils, following my will, start to investigate the sunken ship. They work diligently to provide the necessary information on whether the ship can corrode, how long corrosion can be sustained, and other essential details. After a while, as always, the corroding tendrils did not betray my wishes. Satisfied with the report, I release control over the faces created by the human face characteristic. You seem to know a lot about this ship. Yes. Ask me anything. I also understand well. I will answer. This ship is a new model not seen in the game before. Unlike the ships I've taken control of so far, I know nothing about its size, armament, or specifications. So, I'll have to utilize the collective intelligence of these cult faces. It's horrifying. Though the Mother of the Sky, observing my actions from the side, muttered quietly, I ignored her. Chapter 149. The members of the Mothership Battle Group assigned to the Advanced Class High-Speed Escort Ship were relatively lucky. 5 days ago, they crashed onto an island after being hit by a psychic power shockwave fired by 3 demonic heads. The place was like a treacherous maze where dangerous creatures roamed freely, far from an environment conducive to the survival of those with physical abilities no greater than humans. Had they landed on the continent, they wouldn't have lasted a day. Will the rescue team really come? When the magnetic storm subsides, we can communicate with satellites. Just hold on until then. Various cult members with diverse horns gathered around a campfire, tearing apart and devouring grilled fish. Some had broken horns due to the impact of the crash, while others had bandages tightly wrapped around their bodies. Despite the perilous situation, the determination to endure filled the eyes of the 25 cult members. If we look at the sky, the magnetic storm seems to have weakened compared to yesterday. The communication equipment is roughly restored, but we're a bit short on parts. Let's try again tomorrow morning. The technicians will see if there's a way to get parts from the damaged spacecraft. Cult members, under the guidance of a warrior with goat horns, nodded in agreement. It's going to be tough for everyone, but we have to endure somehow. Many have left guided by destiny, but it's not our time yet. Despite being a race blessed with psychic power, it wasn't much help in this situation. Most psychic power techniques consumed a lot of energy. Using psychic power to catch fish or gather fruits would quickly deplete their energy, leading to a collapse. Aware of this fact, the warrior focused on ensuring that the cult members moved within a limit where a crowd wouldn't form. The sailors also followed the warrior's intentions, understanding the situation, even if it was frustrating. After finishing their meal, they moved to handle their respective tasks. The leader, a warrior, tirelessly went around assisting his comrades. Time passed and the sixth night arrived on the island. The warrior confirmed that there were no dangerous creatures on the island. However, unexpected events could still occur at midnight, so they decided to take turns keeping watch, excluding the 3 night guards. All except the 3 night guards fell into a deep sleep. The fire is getting weaker. I'm going to check on something, pick it up if I'm not back. One cult member entered the forest with a rifle. Oh, close call, almost ran out of rice. He solved his business slightly away from the campfire. Adjusting his pants, he picked up twigs and branches around him, thinking it would be enough. Just as he was about to return, he heard a rustling sound in his ears. The sound of leaves and branches being stepped on. Quickly dropping the gathered branches, he raised his rifle. "Who's there?" he shouted, but there was no reply. Another night guard heard his shout and hurriedly ran over. "Why did you suddenly shout? I heard footsteps from the forest just now." "What?" The 2 night guards aimed their rifles in the direction of the sound, but there were no more footsteps. Must have misheard. Maybe. The 2 turned back towards the campfire. Then, once again, an unidentified sound stimulated their ears. This time, it wasn't just footsteps. "Did you hear that just now?" The 2 held their breath and listened. The faint sound of waves from beyond the forest, the rustling of leaves swaying in the wind. And then, a voice broke the silence. "Is anyone there?" Though small, the distinctly audible voice was undoubtedly that of a female cult member. It was clear that one of the cult survivors had made it to this island. What should we do? Should we help? Wait a moment. Something's off. It hadn't been more than a day or 2 since they arrived on this island. It wasn't large enough to be called a continent, and they could easily circle the island in half a day. It seemed implausible that there could be cult members they hadn't encountered. "We've been here for a few days. There are no other ships here. Maybe they came from somewhere else. Perhaps they had better conditions and could fly in with a spacecraft." The statement wasn't entirely false, but there was a crucial oversight. Despite it being midnight, they hadn't heard the sound of spacecraft flying. In times like this, we need to stick together. "Hey, over here. Wait." Before their comrade could point out the fact, the cult member had already rushed towards the direction of the voice, loudly shouting. "What are they both doing? A while ago, I heard a woman's voice from over there." "What?" Although the 2 night guards hesitated for a moment, they decided to wake up the warrior instead of following their rushing comrade. The voice seemed suspicious, no matter how they thought about it. As they moved toward the campfire, the voice of their comrade who had rushed earlier came from behind the bushes. "Hey! Help us a bit." "Huh? They are friends from the escort ship JSB-2. Don't worry." "That's right. We ran into trouble while flying in with the spacecraft. Please come and help us." The voice from beyond the bushes wasn't just one person's, multiple voices echoed simultaneously, suggesting that a group had arrived. There was no hint of threat in the rushed comrade's voice. Instead, there was only a sense of relief at meeting fellow cult members after a long time. "This is strange. Why didn't we hear the sound of the spacecraft? We might have missed it. Let's go and check." So, the remaining 2 night guards relaxed. They pushed through the bushes, following the voices. The trees on the island weren't particularly large, but it was an ambitious night. Even with flashlights attached to their rifles, it was not easy for them, non-combatants, to navigate through the darkness of the forest. As if understanding such a situation, the voices of the cult members popped up timely. "Over here. Here. This way. Just a bit more." As if putting an effort to prevent them from getting lost, the voices were guiding them. At the end of their journey following the voices, they arrived not in the forest but on the beach. Standing alone in a spot where the sand was deep and well-trodden due to the waves was a female cult member wearing reinforced clothing. "What's going on? Where are the others?" Even to the night guard's question, the female cult member remained silent. She just stared at them with an expressionless face. A moment ago, the voices that had echoed simultaneously were nowhere to be seen. Neither were the spacecraft they claimed to have arrived in. At that moment, as they gazed towards the swaying waves. The waves should have crashed onto the beach, but something unseen seemed to be blocking them in mid-air. The moment the cultists recognized the unnaturalness, they sensed a strange smell lingering in the air. There was a peculiar scent subtly woven into the air, fundamentally different from the salty sea smell, an unpleasant odor. Not alone in feeling the strangeness, the cultist's companion took a step back. His gaze was fixed on the shadow of a woman standing alone on the sand with an eerie face. Following his gaze, the cultists looking at the shadow felt a sensation of goosebumps all over their body. Initially, they thought the wet sand looked black, but that wasn't the case. All the black sands in front of them were shadows. "Are you leaving?" The figure of the female cultist wavered like an illusion. Simultaneously, the shadows twisted and moved. And a voice echoed. "Leaving us alone to go where? Don't leave us. Join us." Together with the voices of their kin, the shadows overwhelmed them. The warrior of the advanced class high-speed escort ship opened his eyes in an unknown foreboding. Typically, goat-horned cultists were known for their proficiency in psychic power techniques related to physical enhancement. He joined the warrior group by utilizing his innate abilities, but he had one special aspect: an outstanding crisis detection ability. Thanks to his faster perception of danger than his comrades, he had escaped death on the dangerous battlefield more than once. So, once this mission was over, he planned to retire from the warrior group and prepare for the prophet's test. While his ability was far inferior to true prophets, with talent, he believed he could overcome it with practice. However, the ability to detect imminent danger like foresight suddenly activated. Swiftly, the warrior grabbed the weapon he had placed beside him. He enhanced his senses with psychic power. His heightened ears caught faint sounds from outside the makeshift tent. "So, if we detach this, it'll work?" "Yes. When you combine it with these parts, it can be activated immediately after attachment." "I see. Is there anything else needed?" "If you're taking it with you, take this as well." The voices were of a male and a female cultist. Night guards. Seeing fellow cult members casually conversing indicated that the situation was not critical. However, his brain, triggered by the crisis detection ability, still sounded alarms. Get out of here immediately. Moreover, there was an essential fact. Among this group of survivors, there was no female cultist. The warrior, who had been contemplating, finally decided to personally investigate the situation. With a pounding heart and trembling hands, he gently lifted the entrance of the tent. And then, he regretted his actions. "All right. This should be fine." Not far from the tent, there was a partially destroyed ship. Something enormous, almost too large to capture in one glance, was there. A horrifying, unprecedented monster was disassembling the elongated arms of the ship. "Will you spare me? I worked hard too. Spare me, please. Darn it. Me too." More horrifying was the something on its back. 5 cult faces, pallid and nauseating, were embedded like lesions, continuously crying for mercy. Among those faces, there was one that the warrior recognized. "I've told you everything I know. Please. Quiet." As the smooth voice of a woman flowed out of the monster's mouth, the faces that were screaming fell silent. The monster's white eyeballs moved, and it turned its gaze toward the warrior's tent. "Saw that, huh?" The warrior, meeting eyes with the creature, wished it was all just a dream. I've got everything I need. Until the cooldown of the nightmare horizon ends, there is plenty of time. So, I traveled around the crash sites checked by the Mother of the Sky, collecting parts to enhance the weaponry of the advanced escort ship. There's nothing wrong with having a high level of armament. The stronger the ship becomes, the more weapons can be utilized through corrosion. Today is the 6th day. I can depart tomorrow. I am on my way back to the continent of Utopia 2, carrying the newly acquired components and ship weapons. This is the last target. The other ships crashed on entirely different continents, making them too far away. By the way, it's been a while since I used the metamorphosis and the face-changing combo. Both are abilities that I used as my main in the game. In reality, these two abilities have an unofficial but crucial synergy. With the face-changing ability, I can choose the victim to apply the metamorphosis organ. Originally, when using the metamorphosis organ, it would discard the stored genes and replace them with the new ones upon consuming a new gene. Therefore, the target for implementation changed every time I consumed a gene controlled by pheromones. That's the weakness of the metamorphosis organ. The inability to change the target for implementation through will. Due to the limitation of pretending to be a certain target and the feeling of disparity that comes with increasing size, the metamorphosis organ was challenging to use continuously until late in the game. Originally, that would be true, but when the face-changing ability intervenes, everything changes completely. The face-changing ability operates by copying the genes of the enemy and storing them in the body. It also allows me to retrieve some of their memory information when absorbing them, enabling me to question them and extract information. The crucial point here is that the stored genetic information can be extracted and used by the metamorphosis organ. It allows me to create pheromones that disguise me as one of the chosen targets from the stored genetic information. Almost no one knows about this fact. As far as I know, I'm the only one who has used both abilities simultaneously. Since very few people naturally acquire the metamorphosis organ, those who attempt to use both are exceptionally rare. I've fooled quite a few people with this. As I continued to trick many people using the metamorphosis organ, some of them started to figure out strategies. They would ask for a password known only to them or throw a bait by catching a new prey and making it impossible to disguise as the previously mimicked target, and so on. However, they were unaware that I had a means of disguising myself in multiple forms through the metamorphosis organ. Of course, there are drawbacks to this as well. The face-changing ability can store genes from a maximum of 5 individuals. Therefore, I can disguise myself as the appearance of up to 5 different people at once. If only there was a way to increase this limit. In the game, there was no way to increase the limit, no matter how much I searched. It might be different in this world. In a place where elements not present in the game are emerging one after another, there might be a way to increase the limit of the face-changing ability. With such thoughts in mind, while swimming, I felt a familiar ripple. Number 26, which I hadn't noticed, approached me, fluttering its fins. In the distance, the figures of the Mother of the Sky and Atal looked small on the moonlit sandy beach. Zzz, why did you come all the way here? The creature responded with a cheerful wave, perhaps enjoying swimming like a typical marine creature. I'll be leaving this planet tomorrow. The next destination might not offer many opportunities for swimming. It's better to let the creature enjoy its favorite activity to the fullest right now. Sure, let's go together. I enjoyed the last swim in the planet's night sea with number 26. In the pitch-black expanse of space, a small spaceship traversed the infinite cosmos. Those with an interest in spacecraft would quickly recognize that the ivory-colored elliptical design ship was the cultists' escape pod. Additionally, those more discerning might notice the severe damage near the rear, particularly around the superluminal engine. The inability to perform faster than light travel in this vast space was a serious problem. Moreover, for an escape pod with minimal provisions and medical supplies, entering the cultists' sphere of influence without the superluminal engine would take at least half a year. It was far from sufficient with only a week's worth of rations on the escape pod. In other words, they were left with 2 choices: starvation or suicide. Captain, this is the last of our provisions. I'm not hungry, you eat. I cannot allow that. Haven't you gone without eating for 3 days already? The 2 inside the beautifully designed escape pod were the captain and crew who had escaped from the Imperial flagship Judicator of Damocles. 08. When they last escaped, the aftermath of the battleship's explosion severely damaged the superluminal engine. Currently, they were stranded in the vastness of space. While the escape pod's flight speed was exceptionally fast, without the superluminal engine, it would take quite a long time to escape the cultists' influence. A week's worth of rations was nowhere near enough to reach safety. In essence, they were left with 2 options: death by starvation or suicide. Captain, I made a promise with the others. I promised to ensure that you don't die in vain. Please help me keep that promise. Just give half. As the crew member was about to hand over half of the combat rations to the captain, the ship suddenly came to a halt. What's going on? Is it a space anomaly? I'll check. They quickly manipulated the controls to examine why the ship had stopped. Captain, someone is forcibly pulling our ship. While it could be that the cultist ship had luckily discovered them, the probability was low. The interstellar region they were passing through was an empty space where no faction had a presence, a suitable hiding place for a hostile space pirate. Haha, it seems fate is trying to claim us. We'll fight to the end. They gripped the weapon stored inside the escape pod. Soon, the sound of a plasma cutter operating near the door of the escape pod echoed. Gulp. Now. As the door fell, they rushed out. Though they had gone without food for several days, the captain, having experienced countless battlefields in the past, tried to use the last bit of psychic power to attack the enemy. However, the opponent was more agile than expected. The adversary, clad in a white suit with a sleek figure, effortlessly dodged the captain's attack and transformed its arm into a blade aiming for the captain's neck. Ugh! Stop! Captain! Meanwhile, the other crew member had been subdued by another figure wearing an eerie suit that seemed like a fusion of a walker and reinforced clothing. We don't surrender to the spacedogs. Spacedogs? Do I look like a space dog to you? The one who had subdued the captain retorted with a cold sneer. Only now could the captain thoroughly examine the opponent's appearance. Surprisingly, the opponent with exceptional combat skills turned out to be a woman. A woman with elongated horns on the left side of her head. You are not a cultist. Reveal your identity. In response to the captain's words, she replied. My name is Si-hyun Yujin, the new captain of Judicator of Damocles 08, and I've come for you. Yujin? Could you be from the Megacorp's Yujin family? Si-hyun Yujin, the former shadow of Megacorp and the current captain of the Judicator of Damocles 08, had come to find those who had failed their purification mission. Chapter 150. Why did Megacorp's noble capital come looking for me? This place is on the outskirts of the galaxy on which planet PH-101 is located. Though it is practically indistinguishable from the desolate mountains, it remains untouched by the influence of the cult empire, yet significantly distant from Megacorp's jurisdiction. Naren quickly surveyed the surroundings. Not only were there cult-style escape pods, but also various types of ships and spacecraft scattered across the docking bay of this colossal spaceship. From the dry white warship of Mars Prime Capital to the rectangular frigate created by the renowned Noble Capital family, famous for space city construction, and even the spacecraft predominantly used by the Star Union. As far as Naren knew, Megacorp's Noble Capitals were highly exclusive entities. Even if they operated ships of the same class, they went to the extent of customizing detailed armaments and internal structures. If you're truly of the Yujin family, you wouldn't be operating such a diverse fleet. It's suspicious. It seems you know quite a bit about my family. Megacorp is a potential threat to the cult empire, so it's only natural to be informed. The words seemed to please Si-hyun Yujin as she slightly raised the corner of her mouth. She withdrew the knife pressed against Naren's neck and, in an instant, her arm with the sharp blade returned to its original state. The peculiar presence in the bizarre suit holding Naren's subordinate on the side also released its hold. What's going on? We have something to discuss, so please follow me. With no choice, Naren obediently followed Si-hyun Yujin. The presence in the strange suit handed over control of the crew to another officer and stuck close behind Naren. He'll be treated as a guest, so you don't need to worry about him. Si-hyun Yujin assured Naren, who kept glancing back. Passing through a neat white corridor, Si-hyun Yujin led Naren to an elegant reception room. She naturally went to the chair in front of the mahogany table and sat down. The presence in the strange suit, showing disinterest, leaned against one wall. I thought it was a subordinate. Wearing a peculiar suit that covered not only the body but also the face, it was impossible to determine the race or even the gender of this being. Please, have a seat, Captain Naren. Regardless of whatever relationship they had, it wasn't crucial at the moment. Naren reluctantly sat on the opposite side of the table. Si-hyun Yujin pushed a cake plate towards him. You must be quite hungry. Have some of this first. What do you want? There must be a reason for bringing me all the way here. Naren's question went unanswered. She just gestured towards a piece of cake. Feeling the atmosphere that suggested no answers until after eating, Naren reluctantly used a fork to cut a piece of cake and put it in his mouth. And then, he was surprised. This is a high-calorie chocolate cake developed for both taste and energy supply. Someone who shares our intentions should be treated generously. Si-hyun Yujin's gaze briefly shifted towards the presence in the strange suit, but Naren couldn't pick up on that fact. As the soft cake crumb slid down his throat, he suddenly felt a surge of vitality coursing through his body. There is only one reason why I brought you here. To acquire information that only you have. As he absent-mindedly ate the cake, she began to address the matter at hand. Information. Captain Naren, you led a battleship and prevented the invasion war by outspacers in the past. For your valor, you were appointed as the captain of the Imperial battleship Judicator of Damocles 08. You seem to have done quite a thorough investigation. I don't see any obligation for me to answer. As I delved deeper, something peculiar caught my attention. How is it possible to defeat a massive outspacer force with just a few battleships? Even for a skilled strategist, it's no easy feat, so I investigated further. Naren's eyebrows twitched upon hearing those words. There are records indicating that the cultists aboard the battleship used an unidentified artifact during that time. The one who thwarted the outspacer force disappeared immediately, leaving only the artifact with depleted energy behind. How do you know about that? How I know is not important, Captain Naren. The crew of the battleship at that time deemed the artifact dangerous and decided to store it at a specific location on a very perilous planet. Am I correct? Upon hearing her words, Naren understood why she had sought him out. You're after that artifact. Yes. You just need to tell us the location of the artifact. Do you think I'd just spill the beans? Yes. I can provide you with what you desire. How do you, a human, know what I want? Naren chuckled. However, his expression stiffened at Si-hyun Yujin's following words. Perhaps the Council will decide not to send the Imperial battleship back to planet PH-101, fearing the consequences of the prophecy. What? With no ship and no connections in the Council, you'll retire as you are. You'll have to live a lifetime harboring hatred for that monster. Naren did not deny her words. You know the power of that artifact. With it, you can reduce that so-called monsters to dust. I could go find the artifact myself without helping you. Well, the location where the artifact is stored is very perilous. Even if you were the captain of an Imperial battleship, you cannot go there now. Damn it. You really know everything. Naren muttered a curse under his breath. If I reveal the location of the artifact, you'll take care of that creature? Yes. I will seek revenge against that three-headed devil. Fee, I'll join you in killing that creature instead of letting you do it alone. I'll personally guide you to the location of the artifact. Seeing his hatred-filled eyes, Si-hyun Yujin faintly smiled. What is it? Despite being connected to a metallic mass with sensory functions, this is the first time I've felt an itchy sensation in my ear. Come to think of it, a morph doesn't have ears. A morph lacks ears and a nose, but instead, it has slender tentacles hanging below its jaw, functioning as auxiliary organs. This organ can detect the flow of air, allowing it to sense sound and smell simultaneously. Moreover, it can even detect intangible energy flows like electromagnetic waves or psychic powers, making it an almost universal sensory organ. Perhaps thanks to these auxiliary organs. Even while integrated with the cult escort ship through the Nightmare Horizon attribute, I could monitor this elongated rhomboid hull in minute detail, much like my own body. That's not all. This auxiliary organ, more precise than any detection sensor within a spaceship, didn't miss a single obstacle in space. Even now, the corrosive tentacles attached to the outer hull are constantly sweeping away space debris and rocks flying towards us. Currently, we are flying through the endless darkness, not the surface of a planet. A few hours ago, the cooldown of the Nightmare Horizon ended. We, who had completed all preparations before that, finally left the cult's sacred place, PH-101. One left its family, while one left the sad memories of her deceased family members. But no one expressed regret. The Mother of the Sky wanted to be buried on the planet after completing all vengeance. She knows what my plan is, though. Being a rancor The Mother of the Sky has a vague understanding of Amorph's ascension conditions. That her own life could be the foundation for my evolution as well. Nevertheless, her desire for revenge outweighed her will to live, so she chose to accompany me. Of course, I don't know what the future holds. If, by any chance, she has to be used as material for evolution, I will ask her again at that time whether she wants to die for revenge. Originally, I had no intention of asking, but now things are different. I owe her a favor. I expected her reaction, but number 26's attitude was more unexpected. I know that it chose me over its kin. Still, I thought it would be a bit melancholic when leaving the planet, but it seemed rather excited. After taking control of the ship, I shot a pulse and asked, and it replied like this. It would eat new prey, become stronger, and then inform its kin about it. Atal hoped for the prosperity of his kin in the planet's seas. It has a new dream, too. Dreams are a privilege of intelligent beings. Abstract yet long-term, a kind of future plan. Not long after meeting number 26, I hoped that it could meet his kin someday. The goal was partially achieved. Number 26 inherited the power of the deceased sea demon and communicated with other bubble amoebas. But this time, number 26 announced its own ambitions to me first. It set a new goal for itself. It's not only growing physically but also mentally. Is this what it feels like to be like a parent raising a child? During my days as a human, I didn't have many pleasant memories of a family or parental love. My childhood was filled with the scent of hospitals, disinfectants, and pain. But now, whenever I see the growing number 26, a lump of emotion swells in my chest. Perhaps this is the kind of emotion parents feel when raising their children. Adult. Lost in emotions, whether it's nostalgia or bitterness, I was awakened by a gentle touch of Atal's tentacle. ZZZZZZZZ, what is it? I. Explain. ZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZ I was thinking about something. Adult. Tired. Later. Explain. Possible. ZZZZZZZZZ, it's okay. The reason we haven't set out on FTL travel even after leaving the planet is that we need to figure out the route to our next destination. Faster than light. Now, our destination is a place not recorded in the regular routes of ordinary spacecraft. It's an extremely remote and dangerous place, almost like the abyss of space. Galagon's Nest. When I saved Atal in the T&C Special Trade Hub, I made a deal with her. She promised to show me the way to the Galagon's Nest if I kept her safe. And now, it's time for her to keep that promise. Galagon has an instinct to find its nest. Even if Galagon's nest is far away, it quickly senses in which direction it is. Whether it knows through exceptional psychic power or through the instinct typical of beasts, the cause is unknown. It might take some time. We've stocked up on provisions on this ship. If necessary, we can hunt down another ship on the way and supply ourselves with food. There are plenty of ways to find food, so even if it takes time, it's not a big problem. While thinking about this, Atal's mental pulse touched my mind. I need map. ZZZ, a map? Shiny. Shiny. Light. Map. She raised her forepaw and drew a circle in the air. Is she talking about a hologram map? Before taking control of this ship, Atal had explored the ship with me. I did it with the intention of finding survivors or useful tools, but it seems that Atal saw the remnants of holograms in the situation room at that time. Let's try displaying it. This ship is almost like my body. A hologram composed of atoms identical to mine, accompanied by psychic power, appeared next to me. There. Enlarge. Request. Atal pointed to a certain point on the map. When I enlarged that point, she looked at it with round eyes and poked a specific spot with her forepaw. Could it be? Each time I enlarged and moved the map, Atal pointed to new locations using her wings and forepaws. After repeating this dozens of times, a certain sector appeared. Atal flapped her wings towards the planet located on the outer edge of the sector. Here. Galagon's Nest. Huh. Actually, I'm not usually easily surprised, but this time is an exception. I had planned to use Atal as a living navigation system using Galagon's unique instinct, but she actually created a path from here to the Galagon's Nest. Even though I was watching in real time, I couldn't believe it, so I asked him. ZZZZZZZZZZZ. How did you make it? I. Constellation. Remembered. Constellation. Stars. Location. Map. Comparison. Easy. She responded as if it was nothing special. I thought she was a dwarf mutation, but it seems like there's no mutation in intelligence. She is already very clever. If other Galagons in the Galagon's nest have this level of intelligence, I don't have confidence in facing them as opponents. As I pondered silently, Adha added an explanation. Kin. Constellation. Don't know. Interest. None. ZZZZZZZ, is that so? Kin. Strength. Strong. Memory. Needed. None. Head. Needed. None. From what Adha said, it seemed that the Galagons in the nest were not as intelligent as her. In other words, Adha was a living example of the saying that if the body is bad, the head suffers. Well, it's a relief. Adult. Question. While feeling relieved, Adha called me with her psychic power. I. Galagon's nest. Explanation. Adult. Contract. End. Adult. I. Abandon. Although she was in a half-lying posture as before, her body was stiff. Judging from the slight trembling of her wings, she seemed tense. Of course, I contracted to save you in exchange for showing me the way to the nest. It seemed like Adha thought that I might abandon her. Maybe I would have if it were the past. But not anymore. Since I couldn't stroke her directly in the fused state, I extended the corrosion tentacles and gently caressed her head. ZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZZ There will never be a day when I abandon you. Thank goodness. Joy. 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 Feeling my emotions, Adha happily flapped her wings. She wagged her tail around my surroundings, where it was attached to the atomic nucleus with a hint of white scales visible near the back of her neck. Thanks to Adha, we'll arrive soon. Though the distance is considerable, it should only take a few months with superluminal travel, which is not a problem. Shall we depart, then? I entered the coordinates and route provided by Adha into the corroded computer of the ship. The next target to conquer is the Galagon's nest. Chapter 151. Officially, Megacorp and Star Union are in a state of war. The conflict began when Star Union instigated a rebellion in Megacorp colonies, leading to a strained relationship between the two factions. While recent years have seen a decrease in the intensity of armed conflicts to localized skirmishes, the two powers were engaged in fierce battles until then. Megacorp employed a strategy involving massive deployment of human soldiers and Hulk mutants, utilizing overwhelming force to target Star Union. In contrast, Star Union predominantly employed terror tactics, such as self-destructing nanomachine bombs attached to androids like gremlin torpedoes. Despite the apparent irony of humans fighting against machines, there was a reason for this. The backbone of Star Union consisted primarily of cyborgs, and to create them, initially healthy humans were required. While other races could serve as cyborg material, there were complications. Cults couldn't endure cyborg procedures due to weak bodies, humanoid races like Wolfen were scarce in numbers and lacked genetic enhancement research, resulting in lower cyborg success rates. One might suggest creating clone humans, but this technology had serious flaws. Clones tended to be mentally unstable, making them unsuitable as cyborg material. Consequently, there was no race as suitable as a healthy human to be efficiently and cost-effectively turned into a cyborg. Therefore, Star Union adopted a strategy involving a small number of cyborg commanders and a large number of drones. In the early stages of the war, this strategy proved effective until Megacorp deployed imp weapons in space. While imp weapons were equally devastating to either side in space, the majority of Star Union's forces being mechanical meant they suffered more. Megacorp, on the other hand, could use space-survivable Hulk mutants to mitigate the damage. The introduction of imp weapons seemed to indicate the end of the war, but surprisingly, that was not the case. Unbeknownst to the general public, there was a secret agreement between the leadership of Megacorp and Star Union. They realized that if they could coordinate the war, there would be substantial profits to gain. Star Union needed to capture numerous sentient beings to increase its population, while Megacorp recognized the lucrative potential of human trafficking. The leaders knew each other's needs well, So they turned the interfactional war into a business. Since they couldn't openly conduct such affairs, they employed intermediaries. Space scavengers thriving on plunder and crime, and cults operating slave trades acted as middlemen. The business involving the great powers has continued for centuries, and today, cargo ships carrying human resources swiftly move back and forth. In the JP-99 system, situated on the outskirts of the cult empire, a cyborg freighter, having completed its trade with cult merchants, was heading towards its home. Have you completed the cargo check? V100 has checked up to container 50. Everything is in order. Phew, just 50 containers. Star Union cyborg, Kanzi, disconnected the link cable attached to her head. With over 80% of her body modified by machines, she could interface with the ship's computer. While piloting the spaceship was beyond her due to insufficient brain assist module performance, managing the cargo on board was well within her capabilities. Inside the frozen containers of the cargo ship were individuals who had voluntarily agreed to become cyborgs. Although they belonged to diverse races, they would soon become one under the name of Star Union. It seems we may not meet the quota this time. That's troublesome. Kanzi scratched her temple while looking at the data graphs displayed in her eyes. Originally, they planned to fill up to container 70, but the cult traders brought fewer slaves than expected. They claim that it is because of internal issues. Nonsense. When did they ever care about such things? If things continued like this, they would fail to meet the allocation set by the Population Management Department, resulting in severe penalties. That was something they had to avoid at all costs. Kanzi reconnected the link cable to her head. MACF, are there any cartels trafficking people nearby? It's a cult area. Who the hell would dare to do business here? Well, I guess you're right. There might be space dogs in the nearby system. Try going there and negotiating. Fine, I'll do that. Since there might be a deal, make sure the drones are heavily armed. Roger. After ending the communication, Kanzi displayed data on the possible Space Dogs cartel in the surrounding systems for verification. While carefully examining the data, the fleet computer V sent her a notification message. Biometric signals. The area around here is an uncommon route for spacecraft. Star Union always emphasizes that citizens become cyborgs by voluntary choice. It is strictly forbidden for ships carrying candidates for cyborg conversion to roam around conspicuously. However, to ensure compliance, this ship was equipped with a high-performance detection system specially supported by the Mechanical Committee. It meant acquiring information ahead of the opponent and avoiding it automatically. Can we identify their identity? Externally, it is presumed to be the escort ship Jaspel 2 San Jama class. The level of armament is unknown. Could it be an outsplacer? According to the Starlink database comparison, no match. Phew, that's a relief. Is it a ship coated with special alloys? Just in case, upload the external appearance and biometric signals. Confirmed. While V uploaded data about the mysterious ship to the Star Union database, Kanzi examined the virtually reconstructed image of the opponent's ship. At what level are the biometric signals being leaked? Estimated to have over 700 occupants. 700. Madness. What did they cram in there? Hearing that, Kanzi suddenly had a different thought. It really looks like a slave ship over there. Although Kanzi's cargo ship is about 1.5 times larger than the opponent, the number of occupants is surprisingly low. It consists of 500 cargo, 30 cyborgs, and 70 combat drones. Suspicious. Kanzi contacted MACF again. Why do you keep interrupting the communication? I'm working. Hey, prepare all the drones. What? Why? If things go well, we might salvage something. If the opponent's armament is at a high level, she plans to retreat without attacking. If not, V. Activate the jamming and stealth systems. Systems activated. With 700 occupants, it should be more than enough to fill her quota. Consecutive warp navigation wasn't as easy as one might think. Although she had previously used warp navigation to control Megacorp spacecraft, she had never done it continuously for such an extended period. Maintaining concentration for several weeks during warp navigation was challenging. Energy is not the issue, but even though I have ample time due to various reasons, maintaining focus during this boring journey is not easy. Imagine driving a car without rest for over a month on a road where you don't know when a wild animal might jump out. Even with heightened senses and the support of auxiliary devices like the Amorph, it is a difficult task. She had no choice but to stop warp navigation and take breaks at intervals. I'm taking a break after a month. But I'm halfway there. In about another month, I'll arrive at the planet with the Gulagan's nest. I used the corrosive tentacles to consume the stored meat like rice cakes. The thick and tough tentacles covered with a robust carapace instantly digested the prey, supplying the necessary energy to my body. As energy surged through my body, fatigue dissipated, and I felt slightly better. Nevertheless, I probably need more meat. All systems of this ship are under my complete control. Therefore, I am currently paying attention to prevent the stored food from spoiling. Preventing it from rotting as it is difficult. There isn't much left. Despite boasting an enormous meal capacity, even 26, which is close to maturity, is consuming much more food than before. Aha, who sucks? Blood and body fluids is not suitable for eating meat stored for a long time. Mother of the Sky also eats a lot. It seems that there is a need to replenish the feed in the middle. Here, in the JP99 galaxy, where we are, it is known that spaceships do not frequently travel. Although it is the cult's territory, I have not seen any other ships while coming this far. If we go to the next galaxy, there will be many ships. While planning the feed supply, something caught my senses. I pretended not to notice the fact that there is an opponent and moved. The mysterious ship approached without knowing that it had a spider web in front of it. The opponent, who was narrowing the distance, suddenly stopped moving. They are probably trying to scan my ship. I, too, concentrated all my senses to detect the passengers on the other ship. Hundreds of life forms showing faint movements, 30 humanoid organisms emitting a strong metallic smell, and 70 machines sending strong electrical signals are felt. Ah, I see. It's a Star Union supply line. Star Union, a community of cyborgs, humanoids, androids, drones, and other machines. Due to the difficulty of leaving offspring, the Star Union emphasizes that citizens become cyborgs voluntarily. As a result, Star Union acquires slaves from other factions to increase its population. Most are targets for cyborgization, and a few are for human experimentation. The Star Union argues that since their physical bodies are weak, they must be replaced by machines. It's ironic that such a group secretly brings in humans to maintain the community. Therefore, such supply lines are operated in strict secrecy. Transactions are also carried out clandestinely with third parties such as cults or space pirates. In this respect, Megacorp and Star Union are similar. In space survival, the Star Union is classified as a neutral faction, but that doesn't mean there is no darkness. It's a place where a different form of devaluation of life and black humor prevails compared to Megacorp. At that moment, they began to send fighter jets. Except for the fact that the outer wall of the ship is a dark purple color matching my exterior, and the weapons are not visible and hidden, the appearance of this escort ship is completely identical to the conventional model. The fact that no plasma turrets or psychic power cannons were visible was confirmed through a scan a while ago. It was clear that they considered me an easy opponent. Are they targeting me? The reason for this is somewhat guessed. Perhaps they didn't meet the assigned quota, or they are preparing for the possibility of not meeting the quota later. But what should I do about this? This ship is not a cult-operated one. Like their show of force over there, I, too, have no intention of just letting the prey come to me. How should I handle this time? I could switch to a new ship using the Horizon of Nightmare as before, but it would be a waste of the escort ship I currently control. Modified based on the advice of the members of the Inmayan, it is much faster than a regular ship and has a lower energy consumption rate for warp travel. Let's not just think about plundering but try to apply it. So far, I have only used the Horizon of Nightmare in a one-dimensional way. Aimed at when enemy crew members invade the ship or fought metallic gremlins by adding weapons to the ship and so on. There was no other choice before. In the state of controlling a spaceship with the Horizon of Nightmare, I couldn't use any physical characteristics. But now, I'm at Transcendence Level 2. Devouring tentacles transform the spaceship into a composite organism controlled by the user's consciousness. You can use some physical characteristics while connected to the spaceship. When the energy stored by the user is depleted, the characteristic effect is automatically cancelled. Devouring tentacles can be used once every 7 days and only once per spaceship. Available physical characteristics: regeneration, morphing organs, spiked tail projectile, reinforced large tail, jaws of essence extraction, pincers. Now I can use physical characteristics even while controlling the spaceship. With the release of the restriction from Transcendence Level 1, there have been changes in the effect of the Horizon of Nightmare. Originally, the use of physical characteristics was not allowed, but that sentence disappeared. Instead, a category called Available Physical Characteristics has been added. In other words, it means that I can attach body organs like pincers or a mouth to this ship. I used to envy the outspacers who could swallow a whole spaceship. Now I can swallow the beings inside the spaceship in one bite. But before that, should I prepare to welcome the guests? The fighter jets circling around are trying to board the ship. They're willing prey who volunteer to be eaten. I should welcome them with joy. Chapter 152. Entry complete. Good. The defense systems of the ship are still inactive. Kanzi. Visible? I've never seen a ship using this kind of biometal. 6 cyborgs synchronized with walkers stepped into the mysterious ship. When they breached the door, they didn't know, but once inside, they could tell that this ship was anything but ordinary. Apart from the fact that both the outer surface and inner walls of the ship were pitch black, it seemed similar to a standard cult escort vessel. However, when examined with the biosignal detection module attached to the walker, entirely different results emerged. Faint life responses throughout the ship, warmth reminiscent of biological tissue, and unusually humid air for a spaceship all deviated from the characteristics of a typical ship. The cult developing such metal is bizarre. Obtained from Outspacer. We have time, let's examine it carefully. Although the ship's interior was unexpectedly different, the cyborgs were not concerned. The walker they boarded was a heavily armored combat exosuit, the Sentinel model. With an integrated reinforced shield, it was powerful enough to combat the cult warrior unit. Not intended for weapons on a regular cargo ship, these walkers were all provided by the Star Union's Population Management Department to ensure smooth cargo transportation. They also came equipped with small drones and various weapons to support combat. While it might be challenging to achieve a complete victory against the cult warriors, defeat was certainly not an option. Nevertheless, the heavily armed cyborgs, led by MACF, scattered exploration drones. Small spherical drones flew along the ship's corridors, disappearing into the interior. According to V's analysis, the ship carried over 700 tons of cargo. Given that the cult boarding a ship of a similar class numbered 200, more than 3 times the personnel had boarded this ship. With many people on board, it wouldn't take long to discover. Just then, exploration drones began sending images of the hull from all directions. Examining the slowly forming interior map, they proceeded further inside. Hey, MACF. Take a look at this. What is it? Looks like some kind of plant. Completely black, they couldn't recognize it at first. It was only when a fellow cyborg pointed it out that MACF realized there were vine-like structures or stems covering the corridor. B checked it against the Starlink database, but there's no matching biological information. Not from Outspacer either. What is this? I'll collect a sample for now. Using the work arm attached to the walker, the cyborg tore off the vines attached to the corridor. From the torn stems, black mucus flowed down. Luckily, it's a sealed walker. If it were a light walker, it might have been toast. Did you modify it all the way to the internals? It might just vomit oil profusely. Stop talking nonsense. Once collected, let's move on. Yeah, just register it in the database. Thus, they collected information while moving. The corridor gradually narrowed, and the walkers had barely touched the ceiling. Yet, there was no sign of the cult. So far, the only living things they had seen were vines and seemingly impure spores. But that wasn't the only strange thing. Next, to the right. Huh? Why? There should be a fork in the road here. What are you talking about? It's a straight line here. The map is a bit strange. Everyone check. Following MACF's words, they checked the maps created by the 6 exploration drones. The virtual maps they saw surprised them. The maps are different. If the ship's structure changes in real time, could this happen? None of the 6 drone-created maps had a single matching section. Is there a problem with the drones? Perhaps they've been affected by radio interference. Then it shouldn't cause malfunctions like this. Kanzi, did you see? The situation is strange. Well, for now, let's return to the ship. Upon hearing Kanzi's words, the cyborgs attempted to retreat, but the ship suddenly shook. What's happening? Hey, Kanzi. What's going on? The ship is moving, creaking, attention, creaking. Kanzi. Kanzi. Ugh. Ugh. As a powerful noise echoed from the linked walker's receiver, the cyborgs hastily blocked communication. Despite MACF rebooting the communication system to contact Kanzi, only static was heard. Darn, it seems like the communication system is fried. While communication between the walkers remained intact, communication with the cargo ship was lost. No contact with the cargo ship, a bizarrely structured ship, and not a soul in sight, only strange pods and stems filling the corridors. Emotions locked away in the cyborgs' minds began to surface, emotions with the name of fear. Everyone, stay calm. Let's return to the shuttle. The cyborgs started retracing their steps. MACF took the lead to reassure his uneasy companions. The heavy sounds of walker footsteps echoed through the corridor. Each step made the black tendrils extending from the ship's structure quiver as if alive. Though it was unlikely, MACF couldn't help but think that the ship resembled a living organism digesting the cyborgs already inside. What a nonsensical thought. MACF forcefully dismissed the emerging thought. In times like these, one must stay focused. However, cruel reality mercilessly trampled on his efforts. Damn, what is this? Instead of the straight path they took before, a crossroads awaited them. One panicking cyborg shouted curses. MACF even considered disconnecting from the synchronized walker, thinking he must have seen it wrong. But to his dismay, the crossroads still lay before them. Darn. What do we do? Try the exploration drones again. Yeah, as if it won't change again. Calm down. Instead of complaining, how about breaking through the wall? Break the wall? Thanks to the Sentinel's oxygen supply function, we can survive in space. We can walk outside and make our way to the shuttle. Though risky, it was not a bad idea. At least it seemed better than navigating the constantly changing ship interior. The muzzle of the storm gun attached to the walker was aimed at the corridor wall. A barrage of firepower poured onto the alloy wall. When the tendrils and pods attached to the wall turned into charred debris, a large hole appeared. Inside the hole, a new corridor awaited them. Despite the uncertainty, the cyborgs pressed on. Damn, whether you win or we win, let's find out. After breaking the wall several times, they finally reached the outer wall of the expected ship. Just need to get out here. Alright. The depleted uranium rounds in the magazine carried the cyborgs' hopes and pierced into the wall. They shot and breached until the storm gun overheated, forcibly stopping the firing. Only then were they able to step outside. However, the scene beyond the outer wall was different from what they had imagined. What? The first thing they saw was the hull of a ship. A long, rectangular shape shimmering in the dim light, a familiar form of a ship. It was their cargo ship. That cargo ship was now torn apart. A massive claw floated through space, meticulously tearing the cargo ship to shreds. Countless containers from the cargo ship spilled out into space. Long, serpent-like tentacles resembling snakes harvested the debris floating around. Witnessing the scene, all the cyborgs had the same thought. The cargo ship they came on was now being devoured by this transformed monster of a ship. Indeed, as expected, there are clear advantages and disadvantages. The debris of a ship, torn in half, floated before me. The supply ship, many times larger than the escort ship I controlled, had been completely demolished by claws over tens of meters long. Though the destructive power is unparalleled compared to normal conditions, there is a significant drawback. When claws or harvesters were created on the outer walls of the ship, the movement speed decreased. Also, the implemented body parts moved considerably slower. If the other ship wasn't a regular one but a combat warship, or if I had reacted a bit faster when approaching, it would have been impossible to tear it apart so easily. The enhancement of number 26 comes in handy at times like this. Number 26, powered by the energy of sea demons, had become immensely powerful. Moreover, The cult escort ship I controlled was made of moonsilver alloy, enhancing the effects of the psychic power. Thanks to these two conditions, number 26 could showcase new strength. An imp created by psychic power. Number 26 concentrated psychic power at specific points to create an area that disabled electronic devices. Although imp technology existed in games, all of them were untraceable. Thus, number 26's technique of only disabling the supply ship's systems could be considered his original technique. It may take a few minutes, but I had enough time to approach the supply ship. They tried to keep their distance when they saw the giant jaws and claws forming on the escort ship I controlled, but by then, it was too late. As the supply ship retreated, it got caught in my jaws, and its hull was torn apart. I'd like to fight like this during fleet battles. If the opponent is a small group, it seems like it would be easy to handle this way. Of course, when facing dozens of ships in a fleet battle, it would be impossible to resolve it with psychic whirlpools alone, so other methods would have to be devised. Still, it's convenient to have something to eat. The massive jaws protruding from the front of the escort ship swallowed all the cargo containers pouring from the broken ship. The jaws, made of moonsilver alloy and organic tissue, crushed the containers and absorbed their contents. In an instant, hundreds of genetic essences seeped into my body, and multiple text boxes announcing the effects of predation appeared. Since they had entered frozen capsules in an anesthetized state, they wouldn't have felt any fear or pain. But it won't be like that for everyone. There are those who desperately try to escape from me and those who oppose me. They will find it difficult to meet their ends peacefully. Several shuttles and numerous combat drones emerged from the exploding ship. Combat drones equipped with lightweight storm guns showered me with bullets. Meanwhile, the shuttles tried to flee. They must have been trying to escape while the drones served as decoys. I can't let them escape. Dozens of erosion tendrils surged from the hull synchronized with my body. Like a snake with hundreds of heads from mythology, multiple tendrils attached themselves to the shuttle's tails. The shuttles struggled to escape by any means necessary. However, there were too many tendrils covering them. In the end, not a single shuttle managed to escape and all were caught by me. Long and thin erosion tendrils wrapped around the shuttles and smashed the alloy glass encasing the control seats. Then, they tore apart the shuttles along with the cyborgs connected to them. A small female cyborg, as small as distant stars, screams. In the vastness of space, no sound could be heard, but it was easy to guess she was pleading for her life or admitting a mistake. I'm sorry, but I can't allow that. They targeted me first in the first place. If I were weak, they would have tried to kill me from their end. They made the wrong choice in the wrong place. So, the cyborgs who boarded the shuttles became nutrients for the erosion tendrils one by one. At that moment, I felt someone's gaze. I diverted my attention from the debris of the supply ship, checking what was happening inside and outside the ship. When did they show up again? 6 walkers that had infiltrated my body tore through my side and observed the results I created. Although their expressions were hidden behind heavily armored walkers, they must have been quite surprised. Should I deal with them too? I commanded the erosion tendrils near them to capture all the walkers. The walkers, seeing the approaching erosion tendrils, recoiled and crawled into my body. Only one walker at the back couldn't avoid my tendrils and got caught. The struggling walker caught by the tendrils tried to cut them with the storm gun attached to its arm, but it was futile resistance. There were plenty of erosion tendrils besides that one. The resisting walker was eventually torn apart by the tendrils, and its entire body was devoured. There are 5 left. I could change the ship's structure and crush them all, but I decided not to. 1 or 2 of them could be useful as informants. I had received enough information from the cultists. Introducing them to some new friends wouldn't hurt. Since Atal seems to be bored. Atal spent his time occasionally assisting with route settings besides playing with 26 and doing hunting training with the Mother of the Sky. Thanks to her teachings, Atal became much more proficient in using hyperspeed and purple lightning. Shall I leave it to Atal this time? I sent a wave of my will to him and focused on predation again. Even as the supply lines emptied, the universe remained silent without a single sound. Chapter 153. Curses. Big D took a hit. Kanzi 2. Now's not the time to worry about that. Keep running. 5 heavy walkers thundered through the corridor, creating a cacophony of noise. The hole behind them had disappeared long ago, and instead of relief, the realization seemed to drive them to madness. The fear of losing power in this place gripped them suddenly. Right. Left. Where do we go? Where did everyone go? Where to, Chijik? Don't scatter. Stick together, everyone. Countless intersections appeared suddenly, which weren't there just moments ago. One of the walkers trailing behind got left behind. This can't go on like this. The walker they were on, the Sentinel, was suitable for combat but not ideal for survival in isolation. Its high power consumption made it difficult to operate for an extended period. The cargo ship is done for, and the carrier we came on must be in a similar state. How much longer do we have to stay in this monstrous vessel? Everyone stop. MACF called the remaining 3 walkers to a halt. Check the energy levels. If the walkers stop, we're as good as dead. The cyborgs quickly checked the remaining energy of the walkers upon hearing this. The remaining energy is fine, but darn it. What's the use of all this? We're going to die here anyway. There's nowhere to run. The situation, as their colleagues had described, was far from favorable. In reality, they were essentially inside the belly of a giant beast. Still, MACF had one thing he believed in. The mechanical committee will send a rescue team. We just need to hold on until then. A month ago, the mechanical committee, the highest authority in Star Union, issued a notice to all departments and private spacecraft. It instructed them to register any encounters with unknown life forms or substances in the Starlink database. Moreover, every ship had to mandatory attach a special signal chip made by the mechanical committee. Reporting encounters with the diverse life forms in space was nearly impossible, let alone having a signal chip. But for Star Union, it was feasible. The mechanical committee could issue mandatory orders to all androids and drones produced by Star Union. This was why MACF and the cyborgs on the cargo ship had signal chips. Once the ship was destroyed in an hour or two, Star Union would be informed of their situation. Just endure for one day. The Population Management Department's rescue team will come. We wait until then. What? How do they know where we are? Don't worry about that. Our news will reach Star Union in a few hours. The information about the ship's exterior, location, and internal structure had already been transmitted to the Starlink database. So, the only thing the survivors had to do was one. We need to buy time until the rescue fleet arrives. Time. This monster can probably achieve superluminal navigation. If it moves to another star system, the search time for the rescue fleet will be longer. The cyborgs nodded in agreement. JP-99 star system, despite being a frontier, was under the control of the cult. If such a colossal monster had roamed without superluminal navigation, it would have been detected earlier. We must hinder it so it can't escape. What? That's absurd. It's impossible. As we saw earlier, attacking this ship is useless. It recovers quickly. I know that. Shooting randomly will only waste ammunition. We need to choose our targets. Targets. Before MACF could respond, he shared a combined file of maps transmitted by reconnaissance drones with everyone. Take a look at this. Even though everything else has changed, there are a few identical parts. So, what's the point? Whether this is a ship or a monster, if it's a living organism, it must have vital organs, right? Are you saying these identical parts indicate a space where its heart or something similar might be? Yes. If we go there and destroy the organs, we might disrupt its superluminal navigation. Upon hearing Macaf's opinion, the cyborgs fell silent. His argument had many flaws. If they followed his words and it turned out to be a trap, they would be in grave danger. The problem was, they had no better alternatives. With lives at stake, they were caught in contemplation. But the harsh reality did not wait for them. The corridor is moving. Damn. Everyone, run. While the 4 walkers were running, the corridor twisted significantly. The narrow space morphed into a massive room. Is this reality I'm seeing? SHT, I think I'm losing my mind. The height of the medium-sized walker, the Sentinel, was about 8 meters. Compared to such a walker, the suddenly spacious area was at least 3 times higher. Even MACF found it difficult to maintain composure in the face of this unbelievable reality. "Everyone, pull yourselves together," MACF encouraged his colleagues while activating the weapon systems. As he made a vow to shoot anyone in sight, a strange sound reached his ears. What was that? The sound was almost unheard of in space. The sound of wind? From somewhere above their heads, where nothing was visible, a peculiar sound echoed. Whatever it was, MACF aimed his gun at the ceiling to shoot it, and at that moment, it attacked them. Ah! Thud! A short scream followed by a thunderous noise. When MACF turned the camera to check, one of the walkers had fallen. The walker, the Sentinel, had internal shields designed for spacecraft and a durable exoskeleton. Yet, a large hole, approximately 2 meters in size, pierced through the cockpit protected by shields and thick armor. The meticulously destroyed traces, as if cut by a plasma cutter, glowed with a faint purple color. There was no sign of the pilot inside the walker that had been penetrated from front to back. Instead, droplets of blood falling between the broken machine parts indicated the fate of the pilot. What just happened? Now, there were only 3 walkers left, including MACF. Then, the sound of wind was heard again. Realizing that it was a precursor to an attack, MACF shouted urgently, "It's coming!" Huh! Thud! But before his words could finish, another walker fell. Similar to before, a 2-meter hole, a faint purple glow in the penetrated area, and only blood stains and flesh remained of the pilot. Darn it! Not even a few minutes had passed since they entered this space, and they had already lost 2 walkers. Now only MACF and 1 more colleague remained. Watch out for the sound of wind. Holy! What kind of wind is there in space? Trembling with fear, MACF quickly examined the traces of destruction while keeping an eye on his wary colleagues. In the process, he noticed blood stains on the floor. The cameras on MACF's synchronized walkers followed the bloodstains, which led to their fallen comrade. Geek. Although they found their missing comrade, there was a problem. MACF wondered, where is the other one? The cameras on the 2 walkers moved upward, revealing it near the corners of the wall and ceiling. It was a green demon with tentacles, impaling the cyborg's face and sucking out its bodily fluids. Cake-uck. The tentacles, like straws, swelled every time they plunged into the holes on the face, eyes, nose, mouth, ears. The trapped cyborg emitted eerie moans and trembled. Seeing this, MACF thought, "I have to run." Ugh! Just then, his comrade fired at the monster. In the blink of an eye, the monster disappeared. Seizing the opportunity while the panicked comrade distracted it, MACF ran. His sole focus was the door in front of him. Opening that door was the only way to escape this nightmare. Cake-uck. Thud. Behind him, a short whimper and the sound of the walker falling again were heard. MACF's walker's hand touched the shield door. The demon's thrashing sounds were absent. He opened the shield door and stepped outside. Thud. Phew. Only after closing the door, he could finally exhale. There was no sound from beyond the door. Just as he began to relax, a voice came from behind. Looks like the prey walked right in. This horrific space and the flat tone of the voice did not match at all. Hearing the sound, MACF realized the truth. He thought he had escaped the nightmarish space, but it wasn't the case. You've done well. The walker that had fled here to escape at Hayes' attack trembled upon seeing me. Fusing with the reactor, I wielded numerous erosion tentacles like hands. Even the cyborg, who seemed to shiver at the sight of the cute Atal, would find me much more terrifying. The walker, initially shocked to see me, attempted to shoot me with a storm gun but failed. The erosion tentacles entwined around its arms and legs. But it seems there are more of them now. Perhaps thanks to the teachings of the Heavenly Mother. Atal skillfully used the hyperspeed ability even in relatively confined spaces. While superacceleration was the unique ability of the Galangalagon, primarily used for movement or evasion, using it aggressively in such a narrow space was unheard of. If it were like before, she would have suffered severe injuries. Atal covered her entire body with purple lightning, using the tactic of melting enemies with psychic power at the moment of collision. In simpler terms, it could be described as charging into enemies while covered in the psychic flame of the purple spray gun. Come to think of it, that's a technique many cult players used. Using psychic power to create a shield around the weapon before striking the enemy, or, like Atal did, enveloping the body in psychic flames and charging forward, and so on. Thanks to these newly learned methods, Atal could minimize damage upon collision. Considering she was a mutant with lesser physical abilities compared to other Galagons, this technique suited her well. Of course, this method is not flawless. The psychic power of the green Galagon is not particularly strong. Even if the body is enveloped in psychic flames due to psychic power, complete protection is impossible in a state where the output itself is insufficient. While he can now be more aggressive, she still needs to be cautious until he becomes a white Galagon. Let's find a way to evolve Atal when we get to the dragon's nest. I must have filled up my energy sufficiently. I should prepare this cyborg and depart immediately. In my current state, merged with the reactor, I used erosion tentacles to break down the walker. As I dismantled the walker as if peeling an onion, a cyborg with cables attached inside fell out. My erosion tentacles wrapped around the trembling male cyborg, who was pitifully less resistant. Shall I experiment with this guy once? In the case of harvesting jawbones for consumption on the ship, the materials could not be used for the genetic characteristics of the incarnate. Even though I experimented with hundreds of people earlier, only the predatory effect appeared, and genetic information was not retained. Is it because it's in a state of fusion with the ship? In a state of fusion with the ship, only some of the physical traits related to the body can be utilized. Among them, the incarnate trait may be unusable. So, although I devoured hundreds of people until a while ago, the attached incarnates still seem to be based on cult principles. It works as a decoy organ, though. I have no idea how this massive ship can camouflage itself. I tried to test it, but it didn't apply properly, seemingly requiring certain conditions. That's done for now. My tentacles opened wide to swallow the entire cyborg. Seeing this, the cyborg laughed as if resigned. Cook. I may die here, but you will die soon too. Usually, I would hear pleas for mercy or admissions of wrongdoing, but this time, it was quite a different last word. Of course, that didn't mean I would spare him. Ignoring him and about to devour him, a sentence from his mouth stopped me. Soon, the Star Union fleet will come. You can't escape. The Star Union fleet? While they are an essential supply line for resources, from the perspective of the Star Union, they are a necessary evil. They maintain the community, but admitting this fact is an embarrassing element. Why would they come to seek such a presence, especially considering this is the territory of the cult? Wait a minute. Suddenly, a ominous thought crossed my mind, prompting me to search through the wreckage of the walker. Among them was a computer integrated into the walker. I activated the partially dismantled computer using small tentacles. There, communication records sent to Starlink, the central database of the Star Union, were still present. Chapter 154. I meticulously reviewed the recent records stored in the computer embedded in my walker. Brief reports on unidentified giant creatures, collection of nest debris within the spaceship, and registration of information after communication, the list goes on. The cyborg I detained managed to send quite a bit of communication in a short time, even if the signals didn't reach the outside. Currently, psychic powers causing intermittent communication disruptions emanate from the body of number 26. It's nearly impossible for the information sent by the walker to reach the capital city Jax 1 of the Star Union. Even if it somehow arrives, it would likely be severely damaged, rendering it unrecognizable. The issue is not that supply line. Before that ship encountered me, it might have already registered information about me in the Starlink. The supply line, in fact, might have sensed my presence before arriving. There's a high possibility that it reported to the Star Union that it encountered me even before the ship arrived. This complicates things. The situation became troublesome. Even if I leave this place, the Star Union's tracking devices will pursue me. Escaping through faster than light travel is on hold. Elite fleets of powerful factions like the Star Union, Cult, or Megacorp possess systems to track faster than light travel. Depending on how much they consider me a threat, fleeing is impossible if an elite fleet is after me. Changing the appearance of the ship won't hide us. The ship dominating the horizon of nightmares exists between the realms of biology and metal. If the supply line identified my features as a biological ship, changing its appearance won't help, they would quickly recognize it. Ahehe, daring to touch a Star Union ship. You'll never escape, Peaceful. Lee. Quiet. Using corrosive tentacles, I silenced him and checked the cards I held. It's been a month since leaving the sanctuary. Most of the means at my disposal are usable. From controlling the nightmare horizon in space, organic evolution that can enlarge or shrink my body, long-range attack ability obtained as the irregular form of a marauder, the divine scepter of God, and the ability to transform my physique into a combat-ready form, symbol of hunt. Currently, I am in a perfect state, lacking nothing to fight formidable enemies. But a direct confrontation is still risky. The situation is different from when I fought the Imperial battleship. The fact that the planet I was on was the politically complex sanctuary played a crucial role. If it weren't for the sanctuary, escaping smoothly like this would have been impossible. Even if I managed to escape, I would have been chased by cultists. However, the Star Union faces no such constraints. In the Star Union, ruled by the autocratic machine council, concepts like politics, competition, or conflict do not exist. Formally, there may be opinions coordinated between the council and various departments, but in reality, they hold little meaning. If the council commands, all cyborgs must obey. Except for the supreme dignity, the members of the machine council are all highly intelligent androids. If they perceive me as an enemy, they would spare no expense to kill me. Androids don't let their guard down, annoyingly. Surely, they would dispatch an elite fleet with high firepower to kill me at once. Space warfare is still challenging. The majority of my physical characteristics are currently sealed, making it almost like fighting with a handicap. While there are newly unlocked type-related traits obtained by consuming the supply line, these traits are not useful in the current synchronized state with the ship. I possess several attack abilities that can crush enemy ships, but they are also limited by time constraints and usage limits. It's not as if I have an advantage in defense and evasion maneuvers. When facing a small number of ships, I can overpower them, but it's not easy to fight against a fleet consisting of hundreds of ships. The relatively better aspect is that this ship under my control has been modified. I attached weapons obtained by disassembling cult ships, so I won't be helpless against a large number of enemies like last time. The downside is not that I have infinite time. This is the cult's territory. If I fight here and get caught by the cult, I'll undoubtedly be caught in a crossfire between both sides. In the eyes of the cult, I'm no different from a biotic ship, an outsider's flying monster. Wait. The cult? As soon as the thought of the cult crossed my mind, I paused. This JP-99 star system is the cult's territory. Despite being a backwater with no significant resources, it's a place they won't tolerate others trespassing through their territory. If the elite fleet of the Star Union, who invaded the star system, is discovered by the cult, a conflict between the two sides is inevitable. I can escape during that time. The crucial point here is how to refer to the cult, and, coincidentally, I have a means to address them. This is getting interesting. After organizing my thoughts, I planned how to escape this predicament. There are a few risky elements, but I decided to push through. This operation of deceiving the cult and cyborgs is something I excel at. Let's wrap up the plan here. Before explaining to the individuals on board the ship, there are things I need to take care of. I looked at the captured cyborg. Well, what is it? The cyborg meeting my gaze seemed to feel an uneasy premonition and trembled. He is expected to play an important role on the stage I have set, not just as prey to replenish energy. It's your turn after a long time. According to my will, small entities dormant in my body woke up. Small holes appeared in the ceiling of the fully integrated ship, and from them, something like thin and elongated rubbery tendrils fell onto the cyborg being held by the tentacles. Wait, what is this again? Stop it. Only then did the cyborg realize what he was about to experience and started glowing. In order to assist the parasitic tendrils climbing up to fulfill their mission, the cyborg firmly held onto them. Heek. Heek-K. The cyborg resisted fiercely. No matter how much the body has been modified into a machine, there are limits. It is impossible to break free from the binding of the powerful corrosive tentacles that can warp the entire ship. In the end, He will have to accept it once everything is over. The harsh reality of becoming a minion of monsters. The Nemi fleet stationed in the S-22 star system received an urgent order. The order came from the head of the Nemi fleet, Nemi 5, who also served as a senior member of the Star Union's Machine Council. As soon as you confirm the information, deploy to JP-99 to exterminate the new life forms that have appeared. It's an extremely dangerous existence, so do not approach, but intercept and incinerate from a distance. This order is issued directly by Grandmaster Chewbacca. Acting Fleet Commander Sonatif, who had been delegated command authority from Nemi 5, was taken aback. It is rare for the Machine Council to issue direct orders to individual cyborgs, as they usually only communicate important matters through announcements. Furthermore, the fact that the leader of the Machine Council and the highest dignitary, Grandmaster Chewbacca, is interested is unprecedented. Since his transformation into a machine, this was the first time Sonatif nearly lost his composure. Is this not a lie? Machine Council and Grandmaster's authentication marks confirmed. 0% chance of forgery. Sonatif scratched his chin, hearing the words from the ship's computer. JP-99 is cult territory. Does the Machine Council want war? S-22 is unusually close to JP-99 among the Star Union's jurisdictional areas. The Nemi fleet, the elite fleet of the Star Union, is stationed here as a precaution. Surely not. Sonatif rechecked the Machine Council's order. There was no mention of invading the cult. The Machine Council, being composed entirely of robots except for the Grandmaster, does not use metaphors or analogies. Perhaps his concerns were unfounded. What is the current force stationed there? 3 Menos-class battleships, 20 Scion-class patrol ships. It's not that many, probably due to its remote location. No space fortresses or Imperial battleship either. After looking at the data screen floated by he made up his mind. The plan was to quickly complete the mission before the cult could gather and then depart. But why is the Machine Council in a frenzy over some life form? About a month ago, there was an announcement issued to all ships. If a new life form is discovered, register the data immediately with Starlink. Also, each ship is to implant a signal chip made by the Machine Council. These were the 2 directives. At that time, he didn't know why such an order was given. Is this creature so dangerous? Confirmation of the data attached to the message from the Council. Send it to my head. Subsequently, biological data flowed into Sonatif's mind, connected by the ship's cables. Feeling a slight headache, he suppressed the pain and examined the information. A giant monster with the ability to disguise itself as a battleship. The model is estimated to be a Jama-class escort ship, possibly Jamaville 2 Mountain. Jama-class. The latest model escort ship, you mean? His initial thought was that it could be a secret weapon of the cult, but he quickly dismissed the idea. Creating and controlling artificial life forms is something Megacorp would do. Or it might be an outspacer. As far as he knew, the outspacers didn't look like that. They are grotesque monsters adorned with numerous organic turrets that shoot biochemical substances. Anyone claiming they resemble cult escort ships must surely have severely impaired vision or distorted aesthetic senses. However, if described as a spacecraft composed of biometal, the outspacers would come to mind first. Perhaps these creatures are newly evolved space assault monsters created by them. Sonatif carefully examined the information provided by the Machine Council. Surprisingly, the quantity of information was not as much as he thought. Instead, annotations and hypotheses added by the Machine Council occupied a much higher percentage. Seems like a formidable opponent. Having reviewed all the data, Sonatif contacted all the ships in the Nemi fleet. He instructed them to prepare the directives issued by the Machine Council. 2 hours later, the entire Nemi fleet of 101 ships entered preparations for faster-than-light travel. The intense blue light enveloped them to the extent that it could be seen even from the surface of a planet in the star system, and soon they left S-22 behind. Thanks to faster-than-light travel, surpassing the speed of light, the Nemi fleet led by Sonatif instantly reached JP-99. Faster-than-light travel complete. No lost ships confirmed. Good. Let's finish it before the cult notices. Release the reconnaissance drones and strike aircraft. Confirmed. Drones and strike aircraft poured out from the Star Union warships with rectangular-shaped hulls covered in spear-like elongated cannons. Because there were so many drones, it looked as if sand was pouring out of a burst sandbag. Search the surroundings carefully. Report immediately if you find anything suspicious. Confirmed. Drones under the control of the ship's computer and strike aircraft piloted by androids meticulously searched the space for floating debris, asteroid piles, and other objects. Soon, some strike aircraft discovered artificially synthesized metal fragments and reported to Sonatif, who was aboard the battleship. He quickly recognized where the fragments came from and also the source of the information sent by the Machine Council. Is the trace of faster-than-light travel confirmed? None detected in this star system. Good. Since it's nearby, everyone be on guard. Urgent report. Energy concentration detected ahead. What? Before he could finish his sentence, the ship's camera illuminated the front. In the empty space, blue energies converged, transforming into a massive structure in an instant. Oh no. Every time the blue light flashed, cult battleships, both large and small, revealed themselves one after another in front of the Nemi fleet. Seeing this, Sonatif muttered softly. Ah, damn. We're screwed. Ordinary cult battleships wouldn't be much of a problem. With the Nemi fleet equipped with psychic defense measures, they could handle it. The problem was the colossal structure firmly guarding behind those battleships. Message from the captain of Judicator of Gormo 03. Urgently check. A diamond-shaped structure adorned in ivory with golden decorations. No, a ship. The colossal ship that appeared before the Nemi fleet was the cult's pride. The Imperial battleship. Chapter 155. Admiral Sonatif, acting commander of the Nemi fleet, was reaching his limits. Here in the JP-99 star system, there were no planets ruled by the cult. This was because the cult had no resources here worth their interest. However, that didn't make this place a crucial point for the Empire's security either. Apart from being close to Star Union, there wasn't much of a threat. But why is an Imperial battleship here? It's not like they hadn't considered combat with the cult at all. They had finished preparations to defend against psychic attacks before making the faster-than-light jump. However, they never dreamed an Imperial battleship would appear. If we fight it here, we'll suffer tremendous losses. The Nemi fleet was one of the 12 elite fleets of the Star Union. With their power to lay waste to multiple planets, the odds of losing against an Imperial battleship were low. However, given the opponent's strength, significant damage was inevitable. The Imperial battleship, equipped with the planet-destroying weapon Cosmic Bolt, possessed formidable firepower. Engaging such a monster recklessly would likely result in the destruction of at least a quarter of the fleet. Let's try talking first. They knew they couldn't win against the Star Union fleet on their own. The fact that an elite fleet of a faction allied with them had intruded into their territory seemed to have caught them off guard. That's probably why they initiated the conversation first. Establish communication. Affirmative. An image appeared in front of Sonatif, connected to the ship's computer. A middle-aged cultist with yak horns adorned in a splendidly decorated room of ivory and jewels was glaring at him. I am Ishtha, captain of the Condemner of Gormo 03. Cyborg. Identify yourself and your affiliation. I am Sonatif, acting commander of the Nemi 5 fleet of the Star Union. The Nemi 5? Isn't that one of the 12 elite fleets of the Star Union? Yes, you are correct. Ishtha widened his eyes. He had only considered the size of the fleet, he hadn't imagined an elite fleet would come here. Sonatif thought he might get away with good negotiation skills, but that was a misconception. The surprised expression on Ishtha's face quickly turned into a grimace. How dare you? Should you, being a pillar of the Star Union, stoop so low to do such despicable acts? What are you talking about? Don't play dumb. Do you not know the extent of the damage your cyborgs have inflicted on our empire? Damage. It's embarrassing to say this, but we've just arrived here. How audacious. Will you only acknowledge it if we show you evidence of what your lot has done? A new communication log file has been detected. Communication file? He examined the file sent by Ishtha. The communication records contained within were beyond his comprehension. I am MACF, affiliated with the Population Management Department of the Star Union. I, a cyborg, will bestow upon you the honor of becoming one with the Star Union. I am Koshi, a member of the Cult Warriors under the Judicators of Dhamma 08. If this is known to the Council. The Council? Relying on feeble races and inferior political institutions like that. We, who execute great deeds on behalf of our mech fleet and the machine assembly to save worthless races like you, deserve your gratitude. Damn you. This message is the last to be delivered to the cult fleet. The incident at the Holy Land is the work of cyborgs. The location is JP2. Shut up. Contacting in secret. You treacherous wench. Ah. What is this? Sonadif was bewildered. No matter how many times he listened to the communication, he couldn't understand any of it. Why is the Population Management Department here? No, more importantly, what is the Holy Land? He momentarily pondered if the machine assembly hadn't spoken to him to humiliate him, but soon he shook his head. There was no way the Nemi 5 fleet, responsible for one of the 12 elite fleets in the efficiency-focused machine assembly, would employ methods that would cause significant damage. Yet, it didn't seem like Ishta was lying either. Even if the cult had hundreds of Imperial battleships, it wouldn't be wise to expend them in this manner. In other words, the communication was manipulated. And there was a high likelihood that both Ishta and he were being manipulated by someone else. Having organized his thoughts, Sonadif spoke up. Listen, Captain Ishta. Have you ever considered that this communication might be false? Are you suggesting our warrior lied? That's impossible. Koshi used a unique communication network only known to the cult warriors. Think about it. If we truly intended to trap you, would we be having this conversation? We would have laid gremlin mines before the Imperial battleship arrived via FTL travel. As it wasn't a false statement, Ishta fell silent. If the Nemi fleet had indeed set a trap, they would have suffered significant losses as soon as they entered this system. In that case, how do you explain MacF's message from your side? We have full knowledge of MacF's affiliation as well as the last location they were active in. That. Please wait a moment. I'll check it right away. Though Ishta clicked his tongue at his words, he said nothing further. It was clear they had no intention of starting a war from their end. Realizing that missing this opportunity could lead to serious consequences, Sonadif hastily called for F. Immediately search for MacF's location using brainwave scans. Affirmative. Searching now. Damn cyborgs, what are they up to? Target located. Already. Where? Located near the Jonas asteroid belt in the JP-22 system. The Jonas asteroid belt that's nearby, isn't it? Upon receiving If's report, Sonadif had a foreboding feeling. This situation was definitely abnormal. It was certain that someone unknown was pushing them into a trap. Could it be? Captain Ishta. Listen carefully. This is all a trap. Sonadif was about to hastily explain, but suddenly, the video communication abruptly cut off. Not only did the communication cease, but the cable connecting Sonadif to the ship's computer also stopped functioning. What's going on? F. Answer. Imp detected, 1 minute until recovery. Imp. After a minute, the communication was restored. As soon as Ishta's face appeared, he hurriedly shouted. Captain. It's all a misunderstanding. Don't make rash judgments. But something was off. Ishta wasn't looking at him. He seemed to have forgotten that video communication had been restored and was staring blankly into space with hazy eyes. Why the sudden change? Even to him, a cyborg, Ishta's face was alarmingly pale. He looked like he had seen something extremely frightening. Finally, Ishta let out a scream. The enemy with 3 heads. Open fire on all. What? The main cannons of the Imperial battleship are activating. Dark matter detected. Damn it, they're all. Arc. Sonadif attempted to give the order to scatter hastily, but at that moment, the entire ship shook violently. Along with it, F displayed the image of the enemy ship attacking them with psychic power. Psychic power attack detected from the enemy ship. Damn it, I know. Initiate counterattack. Observing the black battleship on the screen, Sonadif cursed inwardly. There's no turning back now. After subduing the enemies as quickly as possible, a report must be made to the machine assembly on what to do next. And so, the elite forces of the two great powers of the universe, the Cult Empire and the Star Union, clashed in JP-22. Big guy, is this enough? ZZZZZZZZZZZZ, you're doing great. Yes. Number 26, Concentrating Heart, headed the tentacles of the grateful dissolution with its pseudopods. The dissolution seemed to enjoy being petted with the tentacles as it emitted a reddish glow all over its body, trembling with pleasure. ZZZZZ, concentrate. Oh. Right. Concentrate. Concentrate. The creature, having read my wavelength, snapped out of its daze and smoothed out the erratic flow of psychic power. Utilizing the terrifying nature of the abyssal terror, the dissolution is currently creating a magnificent illusion. With the power of number 26, our ship is engulfed in a massive hallucination. It's a hallucination of what the cultists call the demon of three heads, the form taken by me when I consumed Phoenix and transformed into an adult. The cultists would be utterly bamboozled if they saw this. As I anticipated, the Imperial battleship and the cult fleet that came here are unable to regain their senses after seeing the illusion created by number 26. This should gloss over any ambiguities. Among the cult genetic data I've stored is a warrior from the Imperial battleship. She was a warrior hunted by the Mother of the Sky while I was in the process of advancing to Transcendent Stage 2. Her voice has been useful in deceiving other cultists before, and it's proving helpful here again. Contacting through the emergency line reserved for the warrior's use helped us avoid suspicion. Using the code only she knows, I connected to the emergency line and imitated her voice to stage a false scenario. In the process, the cyborg MACF under my control played the role of a villainous Star Union agent. As a result, the fleet, including the Imperial battleship, came to this system to rescue the already deceased Koshi. Under normal circumstances, they wouldn't have come this far. The word sanctuary I mentioned and the communication from a survivor who was on the verge of annihilation while trying to remove the contamination from that sanctuary. These two elements triggered their overreaction. And to reinforce their misconception, I instructed number 26 to show an illusion designated as the Abyssal Terror. Originally, the Abyssal Terror is about manifesting the image that the victim of a psychic attack fears the most. It's uncertain whether the sea demon can directly reflect the desired image, but number 26 managed to do it. It remembers my appearance well. I don't know how the eyeless creature knows, but anyway, it successfully recreated my adult form. And the fear the cult soldiers harbor towards me played a crucial role here. Thanks to their fear of the demon of three heads that destroyed the entire fleet, this deception operation was successful. The biggest concern is the Star Union. The Star Union cyborgs include numerous androids, and their ships are heavily equipped with psychic defense measures. So, they have high defenses against various psychic attacks, including the Abyssal Terror. Therefore, while urging the cultists to prepare for battle by showing them the illusion of the demon of three heads, I launched a preemptive strike on the Star Union fleet. Since I attacked with a ship resembling a cult escort, they had no choice but to retaliate. If they run a detailed inspection, my identity will be exposed in no time. But, do they have the luxury to do that right now? Having misunderstood my attack as coming from the cult fleet, the Star Union initiated their counterattack. As a result, a space war is now unfolding between the two factions right in front of me. It's not over yet. I still have a trick up my sleeve prepared for the Star Union. I plan to use it when the battle heats up. At that moment, the Mother of the Sky muttered beside me. I can't believe this is actually working. Unbelievable. She's watching what's happening outside through the reinforced glass I provided, along with Atal. Human thoughts are simple. I've thought this before, but you're really good at acting. She looked at me as if she were bored. Considering her history with me, it's easy to guess her current feelings. What she must have thought seeing me imitate Koshi on the communicator. Quite a complex state of mind. Acting, huh? Given the family history, her thoughts would be close to the truth. Perhaps my skill at deceiving people was why I was good at games as well. Let's get rid of unnecessary thoughts. We're in the middle of a battle now. Brushing away memories I'd rather not dwell on, I surveyed the situation outside. The cult's ships were arranged in a diamond formation around the Imperial battleship. From the cannons mounted on the ships, 3 violet beams were fired. Streams of light flew, oxidizing the floating rocks and space debris in the black void. The cyborg fleet hadn't been idle either. From the large and small rectangular ships, white drones poured out like waterfalls. The drones moved swiftly and lined up neatly in front of the ships. It looked like waving a cloth in front of a charging bull, albeit in white instead of red. Eventually, the violet beams clashed with the white drone swarm. Anyone would have thought the beams would obliterate the drones, but the result was different. The drones launched from the Star Union's ships were called APD, anti-psychic drone. These drones were made of black silver, a metal with strong psychic power resistance, and galenium alloy, which absorbs various energies. They are mainly used when fighting entities like the cult, who primarily use psychic powers. To an ordinary human observer, intense violet flashes occurred in space, blindingly bright. The Star Union's APDs prevented the immense shock caused by the part of the cult's cannon barrage. Why did I say part? Because the cult's attack wasn't over yet. The beams fired from the cult's cannons appeared to be 3 in total, but in fact, they were fired 3 times rapidly. The time gap between the beams allowed the APDs to easily block the first attack, but they couldn't defend against the subsequent attacks adequately. APDs are vulnerable to staggered attacks. As I expected, some of the violet beams passed through the drone swarm, penetrating the cyborgs' battleships. Explosions occurred in their wake, and the ships shattered into pieces. The Star Union fleet, having lost several ships, launched a counterattack without hesitation. The appearance of Star Union vessels can be described simply as rectangular hulls with spiky cannons protruding from them. The cannons, arranged like thorns, are not decorative. Countless cannons began to operate. Torpedoes precisely controlled by androids flew by the thousands towards the cultists. While maintaining their diamond formation, the cult ships emitted violet light. The violet shields formed on the fronts of the ships connected, transforming into a massive diamond-shaped shield. The torpedoes flying towards them were blocked by the enormous shield, exploding upon impact. The cultists maintained the shield without any damage. But it's too early to relax. Some of the torpedoes aimed at them abruptly changed direction, hitting the flanks or rear of the cult ships. With explosions, several cult ships deviated from formation. As the shield shook slightly, other ships quickly filled the gaps left by their fallen comrades. Seeing this, the Star Union attempted to launch torpedoes again to intensify the attack. If the Imperial battleship hadn't stepped in, the damage to the cult would have been greater. Is this the beginning? A fracture appeared in the refined diamond-shaped Imperial battleship. A section corresponding to the edge opened up, revealing black gun turrets inside. There were a total of 8 turrets, the black cannons, integrated into the Imperial battleship. Like cosmic bolts, they are powerful weapons that use dark matter as an energy source. The Star Union's ships quickly scattered, knowing the power of the black cannons. The cannons, moving smoothly, fired towards the scrambling ships. Unlike other cult ships, rather than beams, black spheres left the black cannons and flew towards the Star Union vessels. The black spheres reached the ships that were slow to react. At that moment, the ships warped and were sucked into the spheres. In less than a few seconds, the spheres consumed and destroyed several ships. They continued forward, swiftly swallowing other vessels. As expected, the black cannons create artificial black holes when fired. When it hits, it's game over, making a mess of enemy formations and effectively sniping battleships. However, the downside of the black hole rounds is their short duration and inability to control them. Seeing the Imperial battleship use the black hole rounds, the scattered Star Union fleet approached the cultists as they were. The plan was to close the distance with the Imperial battleship and provoke a skirmish. Since the black hole rounds don't discriminate targets, it was the appropriate response. Alright. Then I'll join in. There's something I need to do once the skirmish starts. If that task is completed safely, we can leave this sector without being pursued. Leading the commandeered cult escort ship, I swiftly advanced. A skirmish between space fleets awaits me. Chapter 156. The Cult and the Star Union. A race that has evolved civilization with psychic abilities and a race of machines that emerged as mechanical engineering reached its extreme peak. There's hardly any resemblance between them, but at this moment, they seem somewhat alike. Because they are pouring all their strength into killing each other. Spear-like torpedoes resembling thermometers flew wildly, controlled by androids, forming a chaotic swarm like a school of fish underwater. As the swarm of torpedoes rushed towards their prey, the cult ships retaliated. Ships, shifting from a diamond formation to a hexagonal one, unleashed violet psychic power. Just as fishermen catch fish with nets, the nets of psychic power engulfed the torpedoes, triggering powerful explosions one after another. Amidst the silent fireworks, the mechanical fleets maneuvered to flank the cult warships. The cult, not letting their guard down, intercepted the approaching cyborg ships swiftly. And I find myself in the midst of the battlefield, dodging remote-controlled torpedoes and psychic power heat rays narrowly. To the right, my loyal aide, the auxiliary organ, alerted me to the danger. Connected to the ship, I swiftly maneuvered the hull to evade the torpedo coming from the right. 4 cyborg warships are targeting me. Activate psychic cannons. While maintaining speed, I activated the psychic cannons of the escort ship I used for preemptive strikes against the Star Union fleet. 6 psychic cannons spewed fire towards the enemies. One of the cyborg ships trailing closely behind me didn't anticipate my 6-gun salvo and got shot down. Witnessing this, the remaining 3 ships each evaded my attack in their own way. Not bad skills. 2 ships evaded through evasive maneuvers, but one slowed down, deflecting my attack trajectory. It might have been a decent tactic if I were alone, but blind attacks are prevalent here. As I anticipated, a heat ray from somewhere penetrated the slowed cyborg ship. Flames erupted from a gaping hole in the hull, oxidizing in a chain reaction. Good. Things are going smoothly. Provoking both sides to clash was my intention, but I hadn't expected the skirmish to escalate this quickly. It's an unexpected stroke of luck. With this atmosphere, we can easily move to the next phase. My ultimate goal is to shake off pursuit and safely escape this star system. While it's possible to escape amidst the enemies fighting each other, there's one issue. If pursuit resumes after the battle ends, it will be troublesome. Given the immense damage caused because of me, the Star Union will never forgive me. Not until they are certain that I'm dead. So, I intend to show them that I am indeed dead. I'll demonstrate by blowing up the ship we've already abandoned. Let's wait a little longer for the right opportunity. I tilted the rapidly flying hull upward. While the strain on the hull wouldn't be light for a regular aircraft, this ship is practically an extension of myself. Seeing my abnormal movement, the torpedoes following me momentarily lost their target and collided with the debris of other ships or floating wreckage. The cyborgs also tried to follow my upward direction, but they're significantly slower than me. As they attempted to turn, I fired the psychic cannons while maneuvering behind them. Chunks of short psychic power, resembling bullets, struck the mechanical warships. A ship hit by 6 energy rounds simultaneously was torn into 4 pieces. From within, numerous androids and cyborgs were seen scrambling out into space. True to the fading consciousness typical of the Star Union, there were no ships rushing to rescue them. The lone remaining cyborg ship fired torpedoes at me, leaving their dying comrades floating in zero gravity. The distance is too short to dodge them all. I swiftly angled the hull upwards again. As the torpedoes approached for collision, I tilted the hull diagonally, narrowly avoiding the torpedoes meant to destroy me. The failed torpedoes hastily tried to alter their trajectories, but I wouldn't let them. With 5 psychic cannon portals already aimed at the torpedoes, they vanished amidst violet flames. All that's left is you. The last remaining cannon was for the cyborg ship that fired torpedoes at me. A violet energy round collided with the ship's side. The fusion of violet and crimson flames erupted at the impact point, causing the cyborg ship to twist significantly. The finishing blow was delivered not by me, but by another cult ship. Heat rays from afar swept away the remaining enemies. Your skills in the game haven't diminished, it seems? Of course not. With this many enemies. In the game, I've fought countless battles with fleets. I've fought against rankers and engaged in bloody battles countless times. Come to think of it, I seem to have more experience with fleet battles. In addition to races like Megacorp and Space Dogs that encourage mercenaries and ship operations, races like the Star Union and Outspacers often operate large fleets as they progress. While the cult with its unique system allows individuals to become extremely powerful, it's slightly different. As someone in a hostile relationship with them, I had no choice but to fight with fleets. I remember the struggle to gather these attributes. Space battles are completely different from ground battles. Attributes that were highly useful on land are often useless in space. Even I'm no exception now. Many of the physical-related attributes are useless to me, and the same goes for parasitic or nest-related attributes. Since there will undoubtedly be more battles in space, it's necessary to gather attributes useful for space battles, not just those related to the horizon of nightmare. There's still much to be done. When you go to the Galagon's nest, you can acquire attributes necessary for fighting in space. The planet where the Galagons reside are inhabited by various beasts and predators. There are also many organisms with traits like spaceflight, so it wouldn't be a bad idea to clean them up first upon arrival to gather traits. As I was contemplating this, Atal called me. Big adult. Me. Combat. Participate. Desire. The little one urged me to let her go out. Seeing the ships exploding constantly outside, she seems to want to fight alongside me. Flight. Fast. Enemy. Slow. ZZZZZZZZZZZ, I'm sorry, but not this time. Atal, being smaller and more agile than your typical Galagons, would fight well if she went out, but it's too dangerous. Here. One mistake could be irreversible. And it will be a big trouble if she doesn't return before we abandon the ship. She can detect the psychic power flowing through me, so even if I move to another ship, she'll easily be able to find me. The problem is that the enemy shouldn't know I'm abandoning this ship. If Atal boarding another ship is seen by the enemy, it might raise suspicions. ZZZZZZZZZZZZZZ, I will allow you to play next time. Disappointed? I continued to comfort Atal, whose wings drooped, and kept moving the ship. The situation changed as Star Union ships successfully approached the cult ships. This was because the high-risk black hole shells of the Imperial battleship were sealed. Cyborg ships fired torpedoes at close range or rammed into cult ships. Cloaking tactics in the era of space warfare may seem primitive, but they're quite effective when fighting against the cult, provided one is well prepared. The exceptional defense of cult ships is thanks to shields composed of psychic power. If we neutralize those shields, the fronts of cyborg ships that approached the cult were all stained white. These were APD drones, defensive equipment used to defend against psychic power. By sticking many of those to cult ships, we could temporarily nullify the shields in those areas. After all, the durability of cult ships is lower than that of the Star Union. Whenever cyborg ships collided with cult ships, flashes of violet light followed by darkness occurred. Cult ships with nullified shields could only be torn to shreds by thorn-like emplacements. Cult ships seemed to be in a state of confusion at the sight, but there were no ships rushing in recklessly. Unlike cyborgs with almost no consciousness, the cult feared getting entangled with their own and refrained from shooting indiscriminately. While fighter jets came forward to counter, other cult ships quickly distanced themselves. Those that couldn't were reduced to cosmic dust by the cyborgs. Finally, an Imperial battleship appeared at the forefront, witnessing the sight of their own kin dying. I retreated amidst the advancing cult ships mixed with my own. The beautiful ultimate weapon resembling a diamond is equipped with hundreds of psychic cannons. Then, numerous violet energy rounds flew towards the massive number of cyborgs. Even if the front is protected by APD, the sides and rear are not. Cyborg ships hit by dozens of energy rounds were shattered. Some reckless cyborgs attempted collision tactics against the Imperial battleship. Foolish. The Imperial battleship not only had stronger shields but also extremely tough armor, making it difficult to destroy with tactics like this. As I expected, all their attempts were futile. Later, some ships seemed to try again but quickly halted. The commander is blocking them. After the cyborg fleet split into multiple directions, each headed towards the rear of the cult fleet. The plan was to start clearing out the other ships assisting the Imperial battleship first. Cyborgs charging relentlessly, cult trying to keep their distance for long-range combat. It might seem like both sides are evenly matched, but in reality, it's not the case. Cyborgs haven't yet used their ultimate weapons. It's about time to switch ships. When the cyborg comes crashing towards me, it's the opportunity to switch ships. I abandoned my evasion-centric movement strategy and actively engaged in attacks, pouring energy rounds regardless of whether it was cult or cyborg. After destroying several ships in this manner, I felt the cyborgs were paying attention to me. Along with it, number 26 sent a message to me. Big guy, looks like that big ugly one over there is up to something. ZZZZZZZ, oh. Really? Should we put a stop to it? ZZZZZZZZZZ, no, leave it be. What number 26 said was probably an attempt at precise scanning towards me from the enemy battleship. By now, they must know about the cyborg aboard this organic ship sending strange signals to themselves. And that this ship is the culprit behind this situation. A faint wave lightly brushed past my body. The precise scanning must be complete. Subsequently, the enemy's attacks intensified compared to before. As many as 10 ships began tailing me to mark me. Come on, I'm right here, so come at me quickly. Deliberately dodging torpedoes by a hair's breadth seemed to have really provoked the cyborg ships. It was evident from their ignoring of the cult fighter jets restraining them and solely pursuing me. And finally, the opportunity I had been waiting for arrived. I sensed a cyborg ship rushing towards me from afar. We have less than 2 minutes left. Urgently, I shifted our position to a nearby spot that wasn't the atomic core. Except for MACF, who had been holding on since earlier. Huh, wah. Me too. His final shout was lost as he buried himself in the moving wall. Having completed the move safely, I quickly released the horizon of nightmares. As my metal and alloyed body separated and fell to the ground, I activated the organic evolution trait. This time, the special transformation I aimed for was Crafty Weakling. As the trait activated, my body rapidly shrunk. At the same time, the ship shook violently.